to the Wild Nova podcast. I'm your host, Janine O'Brien. Join me as we explore holistic health for your body, mind, and spirit through inspiring interviews with experts and seekers. It's all about a balanced and fulfilling life. So let's dive in. I am so grateful to be introducing Sandy Mcafee. Sandy is a singer-songwriter, meditation coach, and sound healer, specializing in guided, self-created sound meditations accompanied by intuitive singing, healing instruments, and original music. She is a dedicated meditator with over 25 years of experience and has now over 1,600 consecutive days. She has recently deepened her practice through a commitment to herself to meditate twice daily. Her lifelong love of music has included performing in choirs, bands, and as a singer-songwriter. For over a decade, she has been a creative force in the local music scene, instrumental in the co-creation of many unique and inspiring music projects. She has now melded these two passions and offers individual and group sessions designed to release stress and static held in the nervous system, bringing body, mind, and spirit back into harmony. Please join me in welcoming Sandy Mcafee to the Wild Nova podcast. Awesome. Yeah, I'm excited. So I figured for my first interview, it would be perfect to do my mom, because without her, I literally wouldn't exist. Or this form of me wouldn't anyway.
And she's already going to make me cry.
Oh, you only got tissues down there. We're good at that. Don't worry. I'll ask you a whole bunch of questions that will make you sad, happy, angry.
Oh, great.
You know. Well, I totally asked if she wanted the questions ahead of time.
Mm-hmm.
And then when she kind of hinted that she would, I talked her out of it.
She did.
So this is awesome. You have no idea.
Absolutely none, which is a very vulnerable and terrifying place to be.
And being my first interview, it's not like you've heard other ones that I've done, so it's like...
I got nothing.
Nothing at all.
So I am diving off the side of the cliff with you and gonna go, okay, I have no idea where we're going, and let's go there.
Perfect. Promise to only mildly make you a bit uncomfortable.
Oh, right.
Only a little.
All right.
All right. So I want to start with the first question I'm going to be asking everybody.
Okay.
What were you like as a kid?
Pretty quiet, actually. I was pretty subdued and pretty. Because I was sort of separate from people in sorts of ways. I had a lot of health issues, so I had a lot of asthma and things like that separated me from people. A lot, made that I couldn't go and do a lot of the things that people did. Go and play in certain things or go skiing or do those kinds of things.
Yeah.
And so I just was kind of quiet. But it also made me really, I had lots of friends, but from different walks of life.
Mm-hmm.
So all the way through from younger to older. And I think it was just because I felt like I needed to make friends somehow because I couldn't do all those things. Yeah. So it made me actually a very interesting and tolerant person for lots of different people. And I still to this day have people from all walks of life and ages and backgrounds and so that's probably what manifests out of that, I guess.
Yeah. So what is something that if you could go back and tell yourself as a child that you would say?
You're smarter than you think you are.
Mm.
You're stronger than you think you are.
Mm-hmm.
And you're cuter than you think you are.
It's like boost, like perfect boost of energy. Be like, you're just amazing and enjoy it and embrace it, kind of.
Yeah, and don't be afraid to, and people think more highly of you than you think.
Yeah, because even though you were quieter as a kid, now when you're in a room, you like shine.
Yeah.
And everybody, like all of my friends that have met you and stuff like that, and our mutual friends as well, it's just like you're so bright and shiny when you're in a room. And it's like you have this energy and you embrace it, which is not something a lot of people can do.
Mm-hmm.
And not being afraid to do it. Like you're still going to have your regular limitations where you're like,
Mm-hmm.
oh God moments, but like, it seems like you don't beat yourself up in the moment like other people do.
No, I definitely don't. I might do it a little later.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I might go, oh God, why did you say that? Or,
Yeah.
you know, but I think that just came with time. And really weirdly, I would say probably one of the biggest changes in me was when I did Mary Kay for a while.
Yeah.
And because I was terrified to speak, like literally terrified to speak. So much so, as a kid, like I would just, avoid doing, if anybody had to do the presentations. I have a story around that I'll share that will show how bad it was.
Yeah.
So in grade 11, I kind of really didn't work as hard as probably I should have. So my grade in social studies was not great.
Yeah.
And so my teacher, Mr. Sparks, came to me and said, okay, so we've got this year-end thing that we have to do, and everybody has to do an oral presentation. I'm just going to give you kind of a warning that, you're right on the cusp of failing the course. Yeah. So for the year. So, but if you just do this presentation, just do the best you can, Sandy, and get up there and do it. I'll pass you. Yeah. But the consequences are if you don't, that
you're going to fail.
You're basically going to fail. Not only are you going to fail,
yeah,
but you're going to have to take grade 11 social studies all over again next year because it's a prereq for graduation. And you're now going to be short a course for graduating.
Right.
And so I chose not to do the presentation. So when I graduated, I didn't really graduate. So I went through all the graduation and did all the things, and everybody thought I graduated, but I really didn't because my diploma was quite short a course.
Yeah.
So then I had to take the course later.
Oh God.
In Calgary, I took a math course so I could get my grade 12.
Yeah.
So that's how deep the terror, the terror was. So when someone approached me about, and it was actually my mother-in-law that approached me about doing Mary Kay, I was kind of like, absolutely no way. I don't want to speak in front of anybody. I don't want to. But somehow I got talked into it, and I did it, and I just started doing little things at a time, and I discovered I was really good at it, and that I could learn things quickly. And once I kind of understood what I was talking about, I was super comfortable. And now, as long as somebody, as long as they put me up on stage and say, hey, talk about, something or whatever, I can talk in front of lots of people and I don't feel scared. I get, it's traditional nerves, but
yeah. And like what somebody pointed out too is like sometimes anxiety and excitement will show up the same in your body. So if you're just used to anxiety all the time, as soon as you feel that excitement, you think it's anxiety.
Yeah.
So you're like, oh my God, I'm going to have a panic attack. And it's like, no, you're just really excited. And it's like trying to go into yourself and feel that and know, I'm like, okay, am I actually scared? If so, what am I scared of? And if I'm not really actually scared of anything, or it doesn't make sense, like people just hate me, then it's like, well, I'm okay with people hating me because they're gonna
anyway.
Yeah, like it's just I can't control what somebody else thinks about me.
No.
All I can control is what I put out there for people.
Totally. Yeah. And it's interesting because I was even this morning, I was feeling a little bit of like, I'm like, why am I feeling this weird feeling? And then I was like, oh yeah, it's that sort of just doing something different, right?
Yeah.
And doing something
and your daughter
stretching
has all
yourself.
the control.
She does, and that probably was where a little bit of she's on the other foot.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and that's been a massive thing, is that like I've watched you blossom so much into sharing more of yourself, where I find with the music, when you were singing, you were sharing parts of yourself before. But now it's more in depths into like every part of you lately, and it's great to see that you're not holding back with that.
Yes.
Yeah, because I find it super healing for like a lot of people.
Yeah, it's interesting to do that because it's, going into doing sort of the work that I'm doing right now, which we haven't really talked about what I do.
Talk about it after.
Yeah. It's a bit more vulnerable in the sense that you're really diving into, something deeper. And one of the things that I think my childhood and all the things that I've been through in my life has made me want to be deeper. And I probably always was deeper. I was better at one-on-one conversations in the corner of the party, the ones where people come and break you up and go like, why are you guys so serious? And you're like, because I'm really enjoying this conversation, right? So those are the things that I really enjoyed. It's like I enjoy the depth of relationship, the depth of conversation. To go, I'm not good at going to the networking surfacey things. I don't. I actually feel drained when I come from those things.
It's so funny because now even when I go to those events, because I've decided to just be me, I don't feel drained anymore because I'm not on that surfacey. I will find the other person somewhere in there that wants to talk about the universe.
Yes.
And it's like, tell me about your soul and everything that it's made of. And it's like, again, I end up, that is my party now. Yes. And so it's like,
totally. And I'm like that too now. And for years, I did that surfacey thing. And, that was, because that was the bad side of the Mary Kay experience for me. Was the good part was I learned to speak in public. I
got to try all the samples of makeup growing up. That was the best. I still remember one of my favorite mascaras, and it was a clear mascara with sparkles in it.
Oh yeah.
And
that was just a holiday.
I didn't know that, and I've thought about it all the time. And it was the best.
I wonder if they still have that. It's funny.
I don't know.
I haven't used any of their stuff for such a long time.
No, but it was just like that, and the night cream. I can still smell the night cream. That like pink ointment.
Yeah.
Oh, it smelled so
and you could
weird
extra
and good.
emollient night cream. I remember it.
Yeah. I was like, that was like my favorite. I still want that cream.
Well, it's kind of greasy. It's kind of this weird, but it was good. It healed stuff. It
healed everything. And like, if like my hands have been so dry this time of year right now, I'm like, I wish I had that. A vat of it dipped into my hands. Like,
there's going to be somebody that's going to listen to this. Is
perfect.
That's going to
tell me.
Okay.
Because I'm like, I have no Mary Kay person anymore. I want that damn cream.
So that was the super positive side of it, and products and all those things. But the challenge for me was there is a sort of prevailing idea when it comes to anything like that. Like when you're talking about motivational speakers or people that are, rah, let's go and, do this whole idea of fake it till you make it thing. And that you have to put on this persona and this idea. And I've been revisiting that recently because to look at that picture and realize that like I could feel that wasn't me, during the whole time. Although I did fall into it and did sort of, I've got to, dress this way. I've got to put my makeup on this way. I've got to always be about my business and always be on and make sure, I hired a housekeeper when I couldn't afford to because it was the image that was important, right? Yeah. And I do think there's something to be said for that in a way, but I also think that we're getting away from that now. I think we're starting to really understand the importance of authenticity and how that whole energy of and I think that's what's happened to me now is that I've been able to drop into that. And I can be the same person, whether I'm at my corporate job or I'm, doing my sound healing stuff, or whether I'm singing, or whether I'm, it doesn't matter what I'm doing. It's like I'm just going to be myself.
Authentically you.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, and I find even like in this industry, there were a lot of people that came out with more of the like, to manifest what you want in your life, you have to like feel it, show up for it, and like all of that. And it was that bypassing of everything and like shoving down your negative emotions about like if you're trying to manifest a bunch of money, but you honestly feel like you don't deserve it, you're not going to manifest what you need. So it's like, okay, why do I feel like I don't deserve it? Let's drop into that. And like, I'm not saying, don't say like, I deserve the money, or I'm going to get the money. Truly believe it is the difference. Is like, I authentically believe this instead of just being like, oh, I'm going to get this. And then like in the back of your mind being like, oh, but am I really?
Well, and that's why those affirmations, that rote affirmation of just like repeating and repeating it. And, there's a whole missing piece in that, right?
Yeah, feel it in your body when you say the affirmation.
Yeah. And when you feel the resistance, like you said, don't bypass it. Because, and I taught a class of Keys to Happy and did all the, focus on the positive. We did dive into some of it, but it was avoiding those negative emotions really entirely, right?
Yeah.
But when you can look at them, they're just like little, children that are, they're just crying out to be heard.
Yeah.
And when you don't hear them, that's when they act up, right? Yeah. So the emotions are just like that, our traumas, all those things. Being able to dive into them in safe spaces with safe people, and really feel them and just go into them and just feel them so that you can really embrace them. You can dissipate them. And that's what I'm finding is fascinating.
Trying to figure out if it's yours or if you're holding on to a belief that was passed down to you. Because it's like, there's even things with me, like I have such a fear of the doctor and stuff like that.
That's mine.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
I gotta own that. And
it was like,
about that.
Oh my God, yeah. And it was like, there's so many times where I'd sit there and be like, I'm afraid of this. And then all of a sudden my husband was like, well, why are you afraid of it? Like, what happened to you as a kid that you're so afraid of doctors? And I'm like, nothing. Like, absolutely nothing. Yes, one of them tried to come at me with needles and stuff like that.
Yeah, but the one that
I kicked him in the head. Yeah,
you totally did that.
I did. He deserved it. He was trying to stick a needle in my foot. I have tiny little bony feet. I'm not.
Yeah, he was.
It's not happening. He deserved that one. Or like the nurse that, oh God, they were telling me, oh, you might have mono, so you have to get blood work done. So I took down the nurse, like I football tackled out the nurse and went out. And I'm like, okay, if I have mono, what do I do? Well, you rest in bed and you don't move. And I'm like, let's just do that. I don't mind. I'll just lay in bed until I feel better if that's the medicine for it.
Yeah.
Like, I won't move. Well, if you roll over, this could happen. I won't move.
Yeah. Well, and there was all kinds, because I had mono too when I was younger, so.
But it was like, yeah, that definitely wasn't mono, for sure, now that I know that. But it was like, I was willing to risk my life to not get blood taken at that point. But then this year,
pretty much.
Yeah, this year I've had to be in and out of the hospital a few times and go for my first surgeries and a lot of blood work and all of that. So that was like super healing for me this year, because then it was like yes, there were a couple people that re-traumatized me a little bit.
Yeah.
But for the most part, everybody like at our hospital, they were so nice. Like the nurses and they were amazing. And yeah, it was really helpful for me. And some of them I feel bad because I was not, obviously, I was needing to be in the hospital. And so it sucked. And so it's just like kind of grumpy and sad and upset. But yeah, they did an amazing job. So that really helped heal me a lot this year, which was awesome.
Which is great to see, because that's,
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think we do carry things from our families for sure.
100%.
You carry those fears or those belief systems down. Yeah. And you don't really necessarily even realize you're doing it until all of a sudden you are kind of faced with something. You think, like, why do I
Yeah. And
why do I actually think that way?
Especially with like so many families that, especially in this area and stuff, that their families came from like Ireland and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like they have this lack mentality of things and like this like food scarcity and money scarcity and all of this. And it's like, have you always had the ability to eat something? Like even times where I was beyond poor and it was like a pack of Ichiban noodles for the day, I at least got to eat something that day. But it was like, I have $1 and it was 99 cents at the gas station. But it's like...
Been there.
Yeah. But it's like, okay, even the times where it was tough, it's not like I went weeks and weeks and weeks with eating just like boiled cabbage. But like in your head, you panic that you're never going to eat again.
Yeah, that's a really interesting thing. And I know when I've gone through some of those really tougher times where I was really, you know, I remember one time in particular, you kids, we were just really struggling at that point. And actually, it might have even been before that, but it was right at the very beginning. But I was going to mail a card to my grandmother. And I realized I didn't have enough money for the stamp.
Oh, God.
I was like, you know, that moment of right? Yeah. But the one thing that I've learned when I've gotten to those places where things are really tough is to really bring myself into the moment. Because we project out to that, it's always going to be this way. I'm never going to eat again. I'm never, you know, whatever.
The world is burning down around me.
Yeah. But weirdly, when you pull your energy into yourself and go, how am I actually right now?
Yeah.
My belly's full, or if I'm hungry, I'm really not that hungry.
Yeah.
You know, I have whatever I need around me.
I'm warm and I have somewhere to sleep.
Yeah. Yeah. Even when it's not a house.
Yeah. Been there too.
Right?
Yeah.
So, you know, I find it really an interesting thing to do that, to pull you back into that. How are you actually right now?
Yeah.
Like right now, you're actually safe.
Yeah. Right.
You're
this
okay.
minute,
At
I'm
this
safe.
very second, I'm not running from a tiger.
Yeah.
I'm not hiding from a bomb.
Yeah.
I'm not, you know, like I'm okay.
Yeah.
So pulling yourself into that is like a really empowering moment and then it's like the next moment and the next moment, and then suddenly something just happens and you just have that faith that you're going to be fine. You're going to keep doing what you need to do to make it better. Yeah. And it's going to turn around, and it always does.
Yeah. And I find sometimes it's hard because like no matter what you believe in or don't believe in, whether it's faith in yourself or in other beings and stuff, it's hard sometimes when you really do fully, truly lose all faith. And you're like, I feel like I have no support. I feel like this is like the rock bottom of the rock bottom. Yep. I have no hope. It is all me. I am by myself. And this sucks. And it's like trying to even just get some hope for something better, even a minuscule amount to try and dig yourself out of there is so hard sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. I wish I could say I didn't know what you were talking about, but I totally do. I completely know what you're talking about and have totally experienced that, where it's that feeling of, like, I don't know really where to turn or what to do in this moment. And it's a feeling of isolation, feeling of, I can't even almost describe it really, because it's just a feeling of such an empty feeling. Yeah. But then there's also, I don't know why, but I think there's always that glimmer in the distance. Like, no matter how teeny tiny it is.
I like to sometimes picture like my guides far off in the sunshine going, I'm over here, I'm over here. Like, just open your fucking eyes. Like, It's like, no, I'm all alone. And they're
I'm
like,
all alone,
yeah.
and you're desert. And they're like, I swear, it's like the things that are around us to help us and support us all the time.
Yeah.
Are literally looking down, going, oh, like,
again, woman, like, just ask for help.
Just ask for help.
That's it. That's all you have to do.
Ask for help.
Yeah, in
physically and spiritually.
Yeah.
Like both.
Yeah.
Like you can reach out and pick up the phone and talk to somebody physically, or you can...
And if you feel like you don't have that support, or I know sometimes when you're in the middle of it and the burden of, like, I didn't want to always put all of my stuff on people.
Mm-hmm.
And it was also, like, feeling like every time I talked to them, I was just talking about how shitty I felt.
Yeah.
And I was like, I just don't want to put that on everybody.
Totally.
I'm like, they know I feel shitty. And yeah, sometimes it makes me feel better, like vocalizing how bad I feel. But sometimes not.
Yeah.
So it was like, I literally like laid in bed one night and I was like, okay, I've had enough.
Mm-hmm. You get sick of yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. I was like, I am so sick of like feeling physically drained, mentally drained, feeling so bad. And like, I know I need to ask for help, and I feel like I've asked for help, like from guides, from all of that. And I hit the point where I was like, I don't care what faiths of anything, if anybody or anything is out there, if any like relatives or anything, like take a bit of this. Take
Please.
A little bit of this and just get the edge off for me.
Yeah.
Because I just don't want to, I can't stay here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, I just don't want to be in this place anymore.
Well, and I almost weirdly think that those are the places where, because we can always get ourselves out of stuff. We can always, get ourselves out of situations. But when we get to that point, when we get to that dark night of the soul, that deep, deep, dark place where there is no solution in your periphery, there's no, you can't.
Even if there is something that you see, you can't get to it.
You can't get to it.
No.
You can't even, like,
you're like, great, I can practice this, or I can do my breath work, I can do my Reiki, I can do all of this, but you're just so hopeless that you're like, I just can't.
I can't. Yeah, I can't. And you can't recall feeling any joy. You can't recall, like, happy memories don't exist for you. Like, they're just not there.
I'm very grateful for my dogs in those moments. Because, like, when I feel those, then Gambit comes, like, flying into the room and, like, body checks me on the couch. And I'm like, oh, thank God, a little warm fluffers.
Yeah.
Like, it just, and that they help me. They help snap me out of it sometimes. Or, like, Lily will just stay on me until I'm uncomfortable.
And that's really great to have that. And I mean, having your kid, like, when I was going through really hard things, with you guys as kids, like having you guys to, knowing that you were there, that I had to get up and make sure that I, fed you and did all the things for you, that was important. I could curl up and watch cartoons with you on Saturday morning. And that was cartoon morning is still probably one of my favorite memories of when you guys were kids. I used to love it.
Yeah. I still to this day try to not wake anybody up in the house, sneak out to the living room and like have my coffee in silence. And like my coffee and my phone is like my version of like my cartoons now. And it's like, it was just that peaceful, quiet time.
It was quiet. We weren't rushing anywhere. No. And we were just like snuggled up, like on the couch and with blankets and watching cartoons, and I'd be having my coffee and you guys would probably be snacking on something breakfast or whatever, but that was fun. Yeah,
it was always so funny because I would have the TV on mute, but it was like the TVs then you could have on mute, but you could still hear them. Like the volume was like really, really low. Yeah. So it was like I would just watch cartoons, so I had my alone time. Then Sven would come out and hang out for a bit, and then we'd hear you get up, and I was like, oh, let's cuddle. So then we'd cuddle up on the couch. And so you'd come out and you'd be like, you guys are so cute. And think we were cuddling the whole time, but we weren't.
You weren't?
No.
Okay. That's good to know.
Yeah, we weren't. We were hanging out with each other. Well, I can tell you a lot worse things. If it's that we weren't cuddling the whole time, like, It's fine. But the other stories that have come out over the years.
Oh gosh, I know. They have. There's been a few of them. Yeah, but going back to like that dark, like when you're in that darkest place, right? I actually believe, you look at people that are addicts that have to get to that rock bottom place, right? You look at people that have, it's that rock bottom. It's like when you hit there, that's when you actually access something bigger because you don't have anything else to rely on and you have nowhere else to turn. Yeah. So that's when you do have to kind of do that cry out for that. I need support here. I need help. I need someone like you said. Anybody, anything. Just... And like for some people, it's a very specific thing, right? And depending on their religion or what have they been brought up, they have it, as a specific call out.
Oh, I called all of them. Yeah. I was like, I'm calling on everybody and everything. Calling on nature and land and spirits of all kinds. I was like, it's going to take a crew at this point. I was like, I
need a village right now.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's true.
Yeah.
And when you, but I think that is part of that spiritual awakening. Yeah. I think it's part of that awareness that there is something more. Yeah. Because when you find that moment and you find that breakthrough or that little miracle that comes in at the most amazing moment or the thing that someone says that just snaps you out of it or that person that comes into your life that just lights you up and you realize that it's something bigger that puts it there. Yeah. For sure.
Yeah. And there are times where like I'm put in the position where I feel like I have to say something to somebody and I'm like, I don't know this person. But it's like I'm in the grocery store and it's just like I'm called to just talk to them. It's like it's not I don't wander around and give messages to people from other people. It's like I will just be like, "Oh, I need to talk to that person." Cuz it sometimes is like almost like they're a low energy or they're having a rough day. And sometimes it's just really nice to just talk to somebody about absolutely nothing. Like, I will make friends in the grocery store in the cookie aisle with, like, old men, and it just weirds my husband out sometimes. He's like, it's time to go. Where is my wife? And I'm like, I'm making friends.
Making friends. People. Yeah. I'm over here in the dairy department talking to people about, I don't know.
Yeah. About ice cream.
Yeah.
It's always about ice cream. If I'm in the dairy department, it's going to be about ice cream. Or cheese.
Or cheese.
God, I love cheese. It's like, it's just the mildly, like, the super lactose intolerant, but I'm like, I will never give up cheese. I don't care. I'm like, I would rather... Yeah. I would rather be mildly congested my entire life than give up cheese.
I did not know that about you.
Yeah. I
didn't know you liked it, but I didn't know to what degree.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's bad. It's just, like, I buy it on sale and just blocks of cheese. I've cut down this year. Before, every time Dan was like, oh, do you want a little cheese on your pasta? It was like a mound, and I would honestly grate my level of cheese on pasta. I would grate until Dan went, ugh. Then I would stop. So it's like a lot. It was like half sauce, half cheese. And so, it was so good.
Looking at my daughter here and at this little tiny rail. So if anyone tells you that pasta and cheese are a problem, then...
Not for me. It is for some people, for sure. And it's like, I feel like part of it was because I've had pasta consistently my whole life. Like, it was a staple. It's like 1 to 2 times a week since I was little. My body knows how to break it down faster than anything else. Like, I can eat a normal portion of food with every other meal, and then pasta, it's like 3 times the amount. For some weird reason, my body's like, yeah, I know this. Like, we got this. It's great.
It's still so funny to me. Because it's like carb, and fat, right? But whatever.
But that's... I literally, like, because of my body type, it's like, I need the fats, I need the carbs, and, like, the proteins and stuff. And it's like, when I tried to cut down on those, and like, because people were like, oh, you need to eat less of those and more vegetables, I literally ended up having to get tested on like my heart and all of this because my blood pressure got so low I almost started passing out all the time. And it was because I was eating like way less carbs and I was having more white meats and I was having all this, and I was like, okay, what is going on?
Yeah.
And they're like, you need more fat. And I'm like, awesome. Like,
cheese.
Perfect. Cheese. I'm like, I literally just had the doctors tell me I need to have like fats and meats and salts and all of this. I'm like, so you're telling me to go eat a burger? And I'm like, I am being prescribed a cheeseburger. Everything.
You're sure that's what they were
saying?
That's
what I don't care if that's how I took it, and I have followed through with that ever since.
And you realize anybody that's listening that's a vegetarian is literally cringing, and they're just
they can enjoy
like,
themselves.
Exactly.
Yeah, and my body literally couldn't survive on it.
Yeah.
Like, I tried to do a few, like, I still do a vegetarian meal a week and stuff, but, like, yeah, I can't survive with that amount of vegetables and, God, no carbs. Oh, I just couldn't do it. Well, like I expect this podcast to happen. Like, we're just going to go off the rails on random things like how much I love cheese and carbs.
Yeah, and I'm not surprised either, because this is actually how our conversations always go. Janine and I actually will talk quite frequently.
Yeah.
And we can talk for hours at a time, as you can see. And basically just kind of jump from one subject to the next, and it never really stops. And we both get a chance to talk.
Yeah.
But we just do that, and all of a sudden at the end, someone goes, what did you talk about? And we're like,
everything.
I don't know. Yeah, pretty much everything.
Literally everything. It's like we will talk about everything under the sun, like whatever comes up. And it's just, sometimes it's deep and sometimes it's really not.
Sometimes it's just goofy, and and sometimes it is really deep, and sometimes but it's always good.
Yeah, it's just randomness, pretty much.
And that's exactly what's happening right now. I can see that.
That is why you're my first interview. Because, well, I figured my first episode was them getting to know me, and then the second episode was like, this is basically more about me kind of thing. Yeah. And it's like, it's about you and getting to share that, but it's like, yeah, this is everything. Like, this is just...
Well, because we are a combination of, our upbringing and all the things too, right?
Yeah. And
we are like, who we become, but we're also that which we were.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just everything. Yeah, I think I've gotten like 2 of the questions down that I actually had lined up.
Perfect. Yeah. The questions that she wouldn't give me ahead of time.
Wouldn't, shouldn't, one or the other.
I was like, maybe it wouldn't be, maybe it'd be good to just get a general idea of what you're going to ask. And she was like, yeah, but really, is that really where we want? It was quite funny how she said it. So I was like, yeah, that's totally true. We'll just talk anyway. So
and like always, it will go off the rails. And I could plan for one thing and never ever.
So you actually can't create the title of the event title of the talk until after.
Yeah.
We've talked.
Because I don't know. That's going to be like every podcast I do, because that's what I do. That's literally why I'm wanting to do the podcast, is because I have all these amazing people in my life that I want to share them and their stories and all of that, but also know like every random thing about them. And it's like, and their opinions on every random thing. I know.
This is the thing. That right there is where the terror comes in.
I'm not going too in depth.
Oh, good.
I'm not going to be like, what is your opinion on this family member? Even though Even though I did in my notes originally for questions, because I had it broken up on like different topics that I wanted to talk to you about.
Right.
And one of them was like your personal questions, so like your personal story and stuff like that. And one of them that I wrote was just, I'm your favorite kid. And I'm like, that's not even a question. I'm just stating it. It's out there, and I'm just saying that I'm your favorite kid, whether I am or not. I am your favorite kid. And I like how I didn't even ask. Like, when I wrote it out, I didn't ask, like, who's your favorite kid?
No, it's like, I'm your favorite.
I am your favorite child. But it was like... Yeah.
Well, your brother will probably never listen to this anyways. But...
Yes, he will. Sven, if you don't listen to my podcast, I'm going to get mad at you. Just stating that now. I will force him to listen.
Well, it won't be the first time that you have been mad at him, so...
No, and it won't be the last.
No, it won't.
No, I'll just force him to listen, though. He'll come over next time, and I'll just play it in the background.
Yeah.
And be like, you now have, 10 episodes to catch up on, so...
Oh, Lord, help me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he had to grow up with my craziness, and now that he doesn't live here,
and
I
mine.
need to, share it. Yeah. Need to slowly torture my brother
realize
still.
we're going to traumatize him a little bit more. Right?
He can handle it.
Oh, yeah,
He's
true.
a tough boy.
He is.
Yeah.
He is.
I know. It's just... it's so funny. Yeah.
I know. You have all these things that you want to say about him and that and all that too, don't you?
You know... No matter what me and him have gone through over the years, good, bad, ugly, we had a rule growing up that we would always be fully open with each other.
Yeah.
Because for better or worse, we were the only two people, especially because we were close in age, that will always be in each other's lives.
Totally.
And it's parents go away or anything like that, and it's we were a support for each other, where it was I'm always here for you if you need to talk, and vice versa. And now he has created my little Neffels Akil, and he is the cutest son of a gun ever.
He's the best kid.
He's so intelligent. It's just...
I loved when Dan said, I think he's smarter than me.
Yeah. He's I swear to God, he's smarter. He's just smarter than me. It's just yeah.
Sometimes I feel like that too.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was so adorable. I called him for it was his 9th birthday on Wednesday, and I was at a corporate conference, and so I was out of town, so I had to kind of schedule it and figure out when I could call him, and it was so amazing. You know, he's just he's such a bright light. He's so smart. The things he talks about and his language is so amazing. I can't even sometimes.
I just never knew that my knowledge of Pokemon from the 90s would come in handy.
It so does.
And I was oh, Auntie, you know about Charizard? I know Charizard. I do. It's great. And so it's it's fun because then we can play a little Pokemon game and all that, and it's just
that's his newest interest right now is Pokemon.
Oh, obsession.
Obsession is
obsession.
True.
It's not just an interest.
This is true.
And it's a great obsession because it makes shopping so much easier. Where it's some kids, I'm I have other nieces and nephews and stuff, and it's I don't know what to get them sometimes. And I'm Akil, I'm anything Pokemon and I'm fine.
Yeah.
Or Ninja. Ninja Dragon.
Before it was dragons.
He's
kind of got
dragons.
It's still dragons too, but he's gone through different phases, and it's going to be interesting to see where this one goes and what it morphs into, right?
Yeah.
Because his interests change, and he lives such a different lifestyle, and living in a really small rural community, kind of off-grid community, means that they're so different, and they don't necessarily.
They're not embedded with everything when they go to school, and all of the kids and stuff like that, where it's in the schools now, it's one thing comes out and then everybody knows about it, and it's so much this is the best thing, and everybody's fighting for that popularity, where there it's less that. Yeah.
So they kind of get an interest, and they all kind of get interested in it. It's really neat. But I love going there and seeing how they are, in they run around and play I remember, being able to do when we were kids. I feel that's such a loss that that kids have now, that
Well,
in cities where they don't have that same level
yeah,
of freedom. And I feel like the kids become this little pack, and they take care of each other, and
for sure.
somebody gets hurt, and they all
But it was
surround,
more
and
nerve-wracking going to babysit him when he was younger. And it's like he could barely walk, but he ran. And he would like
in the
run
forest.
in the forest with a screwdriver in his hand. And it scared the bejesus out of me. And he's like, no, it's fine. It's my
it still
screwdriver. I'm
does.
like, no, no, no. You can run with a screwdriver in your hand when your parents are around. But if I have to explain that I am trying to helicopter you to a hospital because you've been like giving
Impaled.
yourself
Yeah.
I was like,
True statement.
oh, it freaked me out. Like,
True
they can
statement.
let you do that.
Yeah.
I am too far from a hospital to feel comfortable with this.
I can still remember one time when I was taking care of him, and he had there was like the big pile, when they had
Yes.
that big pile that was kind of dirt and like broken
Stuff.
sticks and all kinds of stuff, like, and he's like running up the side of it going,
Yeah.
and I'm like, yeah, no, and he's like, Grandma, I'm allowed to go up here,
Yeah,
like, he's
yeah.
all like, and he's like, I can do this, they let me, and I'm like, they might, but I'm not gonna, because
Yeah.
I had to explain to him, because I'm so much more cautious because I am caring for him in that moment.
Yeah.
And like you say, I don't want to be the one that
No.
something awful happens with,
No.
right?
And dude, even when I watch my niece and stuff like that, it's
Yeah.
like my husband's like, oh yeah, she can jump off this and do that. And I'm like, I am not going to be the reason she goes to the hospital. You may be here, but she is under my care. And her jumping off of our little retaining wall, if she sprains an ankle or an arm, I can't do it.
Nope.
I'm like, if I'm not here, you let her do whatever you feel comfortable with. If I'm here, it's my fault. So stop.
Yeah, I'm totally that way, and he's gotten used to it. He knows.
Oh,
he knows now.
Yeah, way
like
better
that,
now and stuff.
and he
yeah.
knows that that Grandma's gonna say no at certain things.
Yeah.
But he's really good, because I'll say yes to other things that he might.
But what's nice is he also, like, he doesn't hit crazy mode with things.
Oh,
Like, he still holds himself back sometimes with,
Yeah.
like, where he's feeling nervous. And he's really good about vocalizing that.
Totally.
Which is amazing.
I loved that when he came out visiting
Yeah.
us, like he came out for his first time visiting us, right?
Yeah.
And stayed with us for about 8 days or something. I think
Yeah.
that's what it was. And, first time ever, like that's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
And he just was so good, but he was so good at like saying, like setting him that boundary, like being
Yeah.
able to say, like, when the go-karts, when he was like, because Auntie's trying to go, you're going to go on the go-kart by yourself, and come on, and then we're going to race around the thing, and he's looking at it, and I could see his face, and he was like,
He was
he
good.
was not having it.
Yeah, he was
Like-
good until he saw the first round of go-kart people go around the track and how fast they were going, because he's not used to speed like that.
Yeah,
And noise
and the
and
noise
people.
and all,
And and so, yeah, he was just like, oh my God. So then he went on with me, which I think he would have been safer going on with like anybody else.
Yep.
Um,
Well, not safer, because you're going to take care of him, but you are.
he would have been more comfortable. I think
Yeah.
he's comfortable with Auntie, but Auntie is a speed demon crazy person when it comes to like quads and go-karts and anything. If I have no speed limit and I have free range for anything, I'm going to push it as far as I can. And
Which is something that a lot of people don't know about you.
oh my gosh, yeah. And
It's true.
like if me and my husband went quadding once, and it was like we had the person that was our guide, then me, and then Dan.
Mm-hmm.
And so I purposely picked the middle spot so I could push the guide to go faster. And so Dan was trying to keep up, and he gets so terrified with me with quadding, because he's like, he's a really, like, he's jumped out of airplanes. He's an adrenaline, like, he loves adrenaline and all of this. He would probably go bungee jumping if I let him, or not let him, but, if
Yeah.
I went with him kind of
Yeah.
thing. And when we go quadding, he's like, you're terrifying. Like, you just... I was pushing the guide to the point where the guide was like, oh, we should probably slow down a little bit because you don't know the track. But I was just like, I don't care. I can tell the quad's not going to tip yet. And if it tips, I know how to, like, tuck and roll, and so you don't get hurt. Or jump off. But, yeah, it was quite a trip.
But he was so good at, like, he was so good at basically saying, yeah, I don't think I can do that, right?
Yeah.
Which was good.
Yeah.
Him being able to kind of pull it in a little bit. And he did have fun with you going.
Oh, yeah. Fun.
Yeah. And then, of course, we had to balance it out by just going golfing because it was like doing mini golf. Because
yeah. Yeah. It was like, okay. Oh.
Our little munchkin. Yeah. We adore him.
Oh, my God, yeah. They're great. Mm-hmm. So, okay. Gonna reel us back in track.
All right.
Okay. So, one thing that has been awesome to see over the years is your persistence in your meditation practice. Mm-hmm. It has been crazy to watch.
25 years now, I think.
So my first question was like, how did you originally find meditation? Because that being 25 years ago was not common practice.
No, it wasn't. And I remember some of my first experiences with it, when people were dropping you in and like doing whatever we were doing to get you. I remember having a running dialogue in my head as to how many people would think I'm crazy. Like if my mother, if my sister, if anybody could see me now of what I'm doing, they would be like, what are you doing? Like, I could literally feel the judgment in my head. And then, so I had to kind of break free from that and just go, okay, just surrender to the experience and just enjoy it, right? And I think the biggest complaint I hear all the time is people will go, oh, I've tried meditation, but oh my gosh, my mind won't stop running.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's because
you're not a guru. Like, you're not meant, like, you haven't done years and years and years of practice. Your brain is I've been doing it for years and my brain still runs away with me.
Yep.
All the time.
Yep. And mine will sometimes too.
Yeah.
And yet I now, because I've been so consistent with it now, and that I'll talk about in a second, but because I've been so consistent with it now, I have times where it's complete silence inside my head. Yeah. Not forever, but moments of complete and total silence. Yeah. And just that nothingness and that everythingness, in it. And it's magical. It's beautiful when you have those moments. And it, meditation was something that, it was intriguing when I first started hearing about it, a long time. It was a long time ago, right? Yeah. And, I learned different types of meditation and different types of practices, but I would stay consistent with them for a period of time. Yeah. The one when I learned where the ascension process or whatever, it was like a really interesting thing. I went on like a 3-day kind of retreat and learned, what their practice was and what they did. And their request was that you do it, 20 minutes in the morning and 20 minutes at night, and you do that consistently. And so I would, I really got into it then, and you guys were kids then. Yeah. And it was something that I all of a sudden started realizing how amazing it was, because it gave me this reprieve from a busy life. Yeah. Because your life is hectic when you're, a single mom with 2 kids going. It's hectic. Yeah. You have a lot of stuff to deal with and a lot of you're responsible for everything. You're financially, emotionally, physically. Every single thing lands on your shoulders. Yeah. And you have to do it all. So you have to be all the things. And that's not an easy task. Mm-hmm. So you need that place of like a spa, like going to a spa. Yeah. Which is a beautiful way to practice. And it's amazing to have that. But there's also something that can happen in that, because you can begin to have it where I just want to meditate and I don't want to be part of the world. Yeah.
The escapism and
it can become an escapism. Yeah. So then you kind of realize, oh, geez, I'll just get back to my life and forget about doing, this practice.
Yeah.
So it's kind of this swing pendulum thing that happens. And then it was about I would say about 5 years ago that I started getting more consistent. About 4.5 years ago that I made a commitment to myself to every day do a practice morning and night. And I've kept that.
Yeah.
Completely. It's over 1,600 consecutive days or something that I've done.
Which is just insane.
Yeah, twice a day, every day. And I will
1,600.
say... Yeah, it's 16... yeah, I'd have to look at the app, but it's 1640 or 1650 or something like that. So
ridiculous. Like, that's... Yeah. For me, it's like...
I know
to have those consecutive where it's like there are so many times where I'm like, okay, I'm going to make sure I meditate tonight. And then, honestly, I'll, like, pass out on the couch watching a movie. And it's, like, to actually have that practice of, like, okay, no, show up for yourself and everything is so important.
And sometimes it's short. Like, sometimes I've been forced to it be, like, I've got to be, on a plane or I've got to go do something. Like, I've got to just make it short. And I'll maybe try and do it again in the afternoon. Yeah. Having the ability to track it, so using that insight timer really helped. And honestly, it's about not wanting, once you get a certain number, it's about not breaking that.
Yes.
Which is a great way to keep you on track.
Yeah.
Because suddenly it's like, I don't want to start at 0 again. Right?
Yeah.
And because it really, in the very beginning, was only me saying, I'm going to do this for like 30 days or, right? For the month, I'm going to do it.
Yeah, I remember when you were in the hundreds. You're like, I've hit like 300 like days or whatever. And it's like, that's awesome. Yeah. When you first were hitting like a full year and then it was like 2 years and it was just like, oh my God.
Yeah. And I 100%, like part of what I want to and what I love doing is coaching people through that process and helping them get consistent in that practice and looking for people who are willing and wanting to do that, because I can definitely give them pointers and help them through that. Part of that is just attaching it to something that you already do. Yeah. Like, any habit is easy to do when you just attach it to the thing you already do. Yeah. So, for me, it was coffee in the morning. Every morning I have coffee and I drink my coffee in bed. I have my coffee maker beside my bed, and I have for years. It was my friend Dale told me about it years ago. And I was like, I love that idea. That's it. Like, wait, what? This is a good idea.
But then where would I put all my crystals, Mom? Come on. The side of my bed is like a geologist's like shrine.
Yeah. Well, you just have to figure out a way to make that happen.
Put it on Dan's side.
Yeah. So... being able to have that coffee right beside me. And so just being able to sit up in bed and just, get myself in a seated, cross-legged position and really propped with my pillows and all cozy and warm. And, I have my coffee and I just do the meditation. And because I did that, it made it so easy, right? It was like, it was a beautiful way to start my day. Yeah. I'm not somebody who likes jumping out of bed. Some people do, and that is their thing. Yeah. I can't, and I tried to for many years. And so being able to surrender to what works best for me and saying, I actually like my mornings to go slow and to come into them in a gentle way. When I hit the ground running, when I get up, I go pretty quick. I'm literally probably 20 minutes from the time I get out of bed till I get out the door. Yeah. I don't have, and I'm like, get dressed, get my food, get
like 3 hours on a beauty routine?
What? No, I do not.
What? Gosh,
I don't have to do that anymore.
I don't know where I don't get that from.
I don't have to do that anymore. Now that I don't have
Nobody has to do that.
No,
let's put that straight.
But when you're in cosmetics, you do.
Yeah.
You kind of do. You have to kind of make sure everything's like right. But right? But for me now, I make it as simple as possible and just go like, I just want to be natural and simple. And, it's not that I don't wear makeup, but... Anyways, yeah. So that the meditation for me, I 100% will say that commitment to do it every single day. Yeah. Not just because I'm stressed,
Yeah.
Not just as a spa to go as an escapism, but to be a daily practice, just like water and food, has been life-changing.
Yeah.
It has changed the way my nervous system reacts. It has changed my ability to process really difficult things and difficult emotions because I have a place to go for when those things happen. It's calmed me, you know, in my work environment. You know, it's like there's just I could go on forever as to how I feel. You know, like it's so I recommend it so highly. You know, I've heard people often say like I just don't have time, and I remember the first time that our instructor said, if you don't have time, you are somebody that needs to do it.
100%. When I feel like I don't have time for my practices, I'm like, oh, why? Like, what am I filling that time with?
If you can't find, like, let's be really honest.
Oh.
If you can't find 10 minutes, 20 minutes in a day, in a 24-hour period, to care for yourself, to be able to sit quietly, and most of the time what I find out, it's not that they don't have the 20 minutes, is they don't want to face themselves when they sit.
100%. And that's why, like, you'll
races.
sit there and you'll go on your phone and stuff. It's like, how much time? If you look at that silly little thing that gets sent to me every week of, like, how much time have you spent on your phone this week? And I'm like,
you got time.
And, like, I'm using it for work, I swear. And they're like, no, you're not.
No, you're not.
No, you're not. You were on an app on your games. And I'm like, fine, yes, right.
Watching reels, going down their app. We've all done it, right? And,
God, yeah.
But knowing that, taking that time out for yourself, carving that out and saying, this is a non-negotiable.
Yeah.
There's nothing, I mean, you see me. Like, I go to people's houses or whatever. I still make sure.
Yeah.
I stay in bed and have my meditation. I go camping or go hang out with friends. I will go and find a way to go and make that time.
Yeah.
Because it is a non-negotiable now.
Yeah. No, that's great, though, to, like, actually show up for yourself in that way as well. Because that's, like, your form of self-care and everything, and it's...
Well, and it does, you know, once you've done it that long, you really do see the benefit. Like, you feel the benefit in your body. You regulate. Like, I honestly, like, I don't get sick anymore. Like, even if I do start to feel anything,
like a little bit of something, and then you're like, okay.
I use an essential oil, and then I just sit and meditate, and I just hold it, and, you know, hold that space of healing, and trust my body to be able to take it out, you know, take on this thing, whatever it is.
Yeah. Send in the white blood cell army.
Yeah. Like, you know, there's so many things you can do, and, you know, now going to what I do now.
Yeah.
I really understand it. I really understand that the cells are actually always listening to you.
Yeah.
Cells are, we think that our body is full of electromagnetic conductors, which it is.
Yeah.
Except we don't realize that what it is, it's responding to thought and idea. So whatever your mind is created in that moment, it's responding to the thought. Yeah. It moves through to a sound impulse. So it's a sound impulse first, which changes to light, which changes to electricity.
Yeah.
So learning that when I started to study sound healing was so amazing, because it's basically saying your cells are not just electricity.
Yeah.
They're sound receptors.
Yeah.
And sound is your thought. It is the sounds around you. It is all of those things. And your ears don't ever stop working. Yeah. They're open 24/7.
Yeah.
So whatever's coming in is affecting your body and your cells constantly, including your mind and what you're thinking.
Yeah.
Because it's a sound inside your head.
Yeah, I always find it so interesting when we actually look at, like, the science when we're doing, like, these courses and stuff and the study. Like, it's insane.
That's the stuff that's fascinating, because you can sense that it's something that works, or you can sense that it's something that feels good or whatever. but it's that reading and like learning from people that have studied it, and like some of the stuff I've studied is just like, and it's a rabbit hole that I'm going to be going down for years, I can tell, because
that's
it's
just
not
a
going to
part
stop.
of this.
Yeah.
So like, what first drew you to sound healing?
It's fascinating because it wasn't something that was on my radar at all. I had gone into being a singer-songwriter, as you know.
Yep.
Okay, so I was 45 when I started to do that.
Yeah, and you built an amazing community with that.
Yeah.
Like that was...
Yeah. That was
you weren't just a singer-songwriter. You literally
No.
built up the Kelowna music community and created all of this.
That sort of came out of something else. You know, I started singing, doing singer-songwriter stuff.
Yeah.
I just started writing.
Yep.
And ended up being going to the Center for Spiritual Living at the time. And I watched people on the stage, and I saw them doing what they were doing, and I thought, God, you know, maybe I could do that. And the people that were beside me were listening to me sing when we were singing songs and just going, you should be up there in the choir. And I was like, I don't know about that. You know, I've been in church choirs years ago, and I wasn't really sure it was what I wanted. And but I was like, I wanted to play some of these songs, and I played, and they booked me. And then I did the whole, that was dumb. Why did I do that? Holy crap, right? Because now I have to learn other songs, because now I have to, you know, like, great, you know. And I had this old guitar that, you know, I had since I was given when I was 12. And I still had it in the house. And as you know, when you kids, I didn't really play it that much. Like, I played it sometimes camping.
It was campfires, like with Girl Guides or something. If we'd have a camp out, you would play the Worms song. The guess I'll go eat worms, long skin slimy ones, short fat juicy ones. It's bits tiny one of worms. It was like my favorite song that you played.
I had totally forgotten that I did that.
You're welcome. I hope that earworm gets stuck in you for a while.
It will for sure. So then I just, once they kind of booked me, it was this snowball. It was this beautiful, magical thing. And that came from me being in a depression and going like, I need to put some things into my life that I love. And one of the things was music. And one of the things was picking up my guitar and singing and writing. And I hadn't been doing any of that. And all of a sudden it was like this magical, you know, energy. And I call the process of identifying that thing soul setting, because that's what it was for me. It was getting out of goal setting and into what feeds my soul.
Yeah.
What feeds my soul.
Yeah.
And I did that, and all of a sudden I'm performing, and then people are telling me, and I'm writing songs, and people are telling me to write more songs, and then I'm writing more songs, and then they're like, you need to do a CD. No, I don't. Yes, you do. And I'm like, what the heck? And then, you know, I had a CD release inside the Pyramid at Summerhill Winery with 125 people in a magical candlelit, you know, thing, which was mind-blowing.
Yeah.
So all of those things were gorgeous and beautiful because they were growing me as a performer, as a writer. But the best was really yet to come, because that whole thing, there was circumstances in life that put me on the road, and I, you know, set myself in my van and went across Canada for 4 months. And I didn't book anything. I just played, you know, to certain house concerts when I arrived at people's places, or I played in campgrounds, or, you know, I'd play in open mics, and then I'd be asked to go and do stuff. And that was wonderful and magical. But the biggest thing it did for me was when I went to Nova Scotia, I discovered what community around music looked like.
Yeah.
I discovered what it was like to create something so magical that, you know, people came together and they played together and they performed together and they did all kinds of stuff. And it was so insane.
Yeah.
Like, it was so beautiful. And I came back here and felt completely barren.
Yeah.
That there was nothing here like that.
Yeah.
And I thought, you know, I wanted to move to Nova Scotia. I wanted to get in just go. Yeah. And I struggled with that for a long time because it was like, but there's my heart.
I still sometimes think you struggle with it, where you're like,
I
want to run away.
I do sometimes.
Like,
I totally do. But what I realized was, what was it that fell in love with out there? And it was that community and the music and the things around that. And I was like, well, then just recreate that here, right? Yeah. So I just started reaching out, ended up joining the, Kelowna Arts Council, had this coffee house that was going on. I started going there. I immediately got involved with it pretty quickly. I just started to see the benefit of creating these safe spaces for people to play music and to be heard. And all of a sudden that sort of snowballed, and I had this Heart in the House, which was like it was a house concert series of, different hosts, and I would take and do all that. We had Songwriter Studio, that was a whole other thing where it was, musicians came with their songs, and everybody came, and you had a whole bunch of different musicians in a room, and you just jammed the song and then recorded it at the end of the night, like with this arrangement that you came up with, because you just play it over and over again until you kind of got it, and it would sound like everything was chaotic and off the rails, and then all of a sudden it would just gel into this beautiful thing, and then we'd put it up on SoundCloud, right?
Yeah.
So there were all these magical, amazing things, and musicians that came together, and it really became my lifeblood. It became who I was and my identity and everything. So sound healing was not even on the radar at all. No. None. But when I look back, I was diving deeper into something deeper in music.
Yep.
Always.
Yep.
It was that finding quiet places. I liked presenting music in places where people really listened to it and felt it.
Yes.
They felt the depth of it. They heard the stories.
Yeah, it's a more enveloping experience.
Not like everybody going to the bar and, and that wasn't...
Everybody shouting over each other and stuff. It's people actually... like listening to a poet.
Yes.
And just feeling the music.
And I always felt music. I've always felt music and didn't realize I did that. I didn't realize not everybody does feel music, but I do.
Yeah.
On a deep level. Yeah. So I was always diving deeper into the sound, into the music, into the lyrics, into those things already. So when the world turns upside down, and the thing we won't...
Well, I'm fine talking about it because that's a part of your story that I kind of want to go into.
Yeah.
So it's like you had this amazing space and this amazing community, and you had all these friends, and it was like...
so many people that I knew.
Oh, it was incredible. Yeah. Like, it literally, God, I don't even know how many times, like, Kelowna is big but small. Mm-hmm. So I don't know how many times that I meet somebody and they know you.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't know how you know my mother, but you know my mother. And that happens even to this day all the time. And it's like, it happens to both of us now, where it's just like, oh yeah, it's like, we know each other. This is great. So you were so excited and happy and on this like high, basically. And then basically the pandemic hit. And lockdowns happened. And there was no music.
There was nothing. Yeah. It's still hard to even talk about that.
Yeah.
I know I still have healing to do around that because it was so hard.
Yeah.
You couldn't get together. You couldn't, we couldn't. There was just nothing.
Yeah.
Everything that I had built for 8 years, everything that was my whole being was gone. Was gone. I had built my entire identity around this connection and bringing people together around music, and it was gone.
Yeah.
And I literally could not listen to music probably for about 10 months.
Yeah.
I couldn't turn on music because the minute I turned it on, the intensity of the sadness that I felt was so dramatic that I couldn't function in it. And it wasn't until probably like November or December of 2020 that I was able to even listen to something.
Yeah.
And which was hard.
Yeah.
Hard. Because you can't.
And we watch so many communities get so divided, and literally people that you thought were like really good friends and you connected on a soul level with, that you guys were like family. You were a chosen family.
Yeah.
And to watch that literally get ripped apart.
It did get ripped apart.
Everybody was at each other's throats.
Yeah.
Like.
Yeah. And there were divides about decisions that people were making for themselves. And, you know, I just saw it as an important thing that people make their own decision on, you know, where they were with things. And I and had to make my own decisions around that too. And that was so hard because I would literally watch people that I loved and adored say the most awful, cruel things about other people and about other people. And
or even them saying things and it was about you, but they didn't know it was about you.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's horrible to feel that way.
It was.
Because even though sometimes it wasn't directed at you, sometimes it was, sometimes it wasn't.
Yeah.
It's still, you take it so personally.
You do take it personally because you knew that that person literally hated you.
Yeah.
But they didn't know it was you.
Yeah.
Because they didn't have a face. They had a face that looked different, that they could blame and they could talk about in a particular way. And they would openly, aggressively, and, you know, and blame and all the things. But they didn't know that it was somebody that they loved.
Yeah. I know. And it was so hard watching you go from, like, you were out every night. Like, I was in bed by 9:30. I was curled up, you know, cuddled in 9:30. I'm good. And my mom is out till 2 a.m. Dancing and partying almost like every night.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, what'd you do? I'm like up at 5 a.m. and she's sleeping in and I'm like.
But I still had to go to work.
Like, I know.
Would work 4 days a week. Everybody at work would be like, how can you do this? Because I would go to work. I'd have to be there, you know, from 8 o'clock until 4. Yeah. And then I would go home. And quite often it was like I quickly had to do a bunch of emails to send, you know, this is the event that's going on or this is what's happening. But then I had house concerts I was putting on. But I also was scouting. Yeah. You know, like, I mean, Songwriter Studio was happening. We were doing that. But I was scouting first. So I was hosting open mics.
I'd be like, what'd you do last night? And you're like, I was out dancing with my friends all night. I'm like, that's great.
And like, it was this magic that just sort of, I felt like I couldn't. Yeah. I had so much energy. Yeah. Now, I realize now it's probably running a lot on adrenaline. And that's probably why when
adrenaline and caffeine will get you through so much.
But that's probably why when I realized, when it took so long for us to be able to get back, first of all, there was the division in the community.
Yeah. And everybody, like,
And I wasn't able to participate in some of the startup of some of the things because
we had these massive mandates where it was like, oh, you can have 5 people in this, like, big arena, basically, is what it felt like. And you're like,
and you couldn't put you couldn't put a home, like, at risk.
No, and you didn't feel like dancing, too. That was, like, a big part of it. It was, like, a time where people really needed music and community. They couldn't have it.
Yeah. Yeah. And, I mean, there were people that got back to it, you know, a little quicker than I was able to. You know, I was under restriction. And it was, you know, that was hard. You know, it was a hard choice to make for myself. It was an important choice for me, you know, medically. It was an imperative that I make the choice that I made. Yeah. But it meant it literally meant I had to decide to give up the thing I love.
Yeah. And you basically went through like a massive grieving process for that. And it's like, just everything you had to let go of. It was your entire life that you were building around. And it was like, you were working your 9-to-5 job kind of thing, but you were doing this as well. And it was every part of passion for you.
Oh, yeah.
And then to watch it get taken away from you.
Yeah.
Then you lose all of your friends, basically, because it's like even the ones that you would connect with, a lot of the times you would connect at events. So it's just not the same when you're sitting on Facebook like, hey, how's it going?
Yeah.
Or like the video chats. It's not the same as sitting down with somebody and having a cup of coffee.
No.
It's never going to feel the same.
No, there's a magic in that, gathering around music and creating music with people was so incredibly magical.
Yeah.
And healing and, life-giving.
Yeah.
Life-giving, really. So it was in that loss, and diving into my meditate, because I'd already started the meditation practice and the consistency.
Yeah.
And then just sitting with that and literally calling out for help.
Yeah.
And that's, was like, and starting to connect with you and the community that you had, gotten involved with the work you were doing.
Yeah.
And going and having a sound bath for the first time.
Yeah.
Like, what was that,
Yeah.
Yeah, which was amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And also crazy because I threw up in the forest.
Yeah,
it was...
we were at this amazing little goddess retreat where like I met, like I was already friends with a few of the girls there and stuff, and I met some of the most amazing women that I'm still really good friends with.
Yeah, and we're still connected to. Yeah.
And I totally forgot that was your first sound bath.
Yeah.
And that one was a really, really talented, like really good and everything.
Mm-hmm. She's beautiful. But sound can, it
shake up.
Right. And I had been feeling grief and I knew I couldn't,
and especially around music.
And it was anger. Yeah, grief and anger. And it was in my stomach, right?
And around music and sound, and then you're just like, oh, shake it up. And then you like snuck out of the building. While we're all like chatting a little bit, you sneak out of the building to go puke in the bush.
That's pretty much what happened.
Yeah.
Had to find a safe place and then come back and go,
Yeah.
And you knew you were with the right people.
Yeah.
Because when I came back in and I sat down and I said, oh God, sorry, apparently I needed to purge something there. And then so it was Tamara, I think. She's like, oh, lucky you. I wish that happened to me.
Yeah, our friends are like the best because it's like instead of people being like, oh my God, I can't believe you puked, or are you okay? It's
like, do you need tea?
Oh, go puke some more, let it out. Like, get it out of you. Whatever's stuck in you, like just, hey, if that's the quickest way for it to go, do it.
But the interesting thing, because I should backtrack a bit because... Honestly, like
so hang on. So in that though, the facilitators had asked you because you were kind of like, they knew you were a musician and stuff like that. So they asked you to basically do kind of a guided meditation-y, soundy type thing.
It was actually Rochelle. I had told her the story of what had happened to me back in January.
Yeah. Because this was in like March.
This was May. So
was it?
it was May that we were at the thing. So in January, of not last,
whatever year it was. I don't know what year it is now. So
no, I don't either. So in January, I had been in a meditation.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sitting in this meditation, calling out to asking for help to I'm still feeling this grieving. I'm letting this grieving go. I'm opening up to the possibility of something new.
Yeah.
And just sitting in it. And sitting in the unknown is the hardest thing when you're waiting for that new sort of thing to happen. And our society doesn't really like you to do that. It should be like, just get her done, figure out what you want to do.
We're in a society that's like, don't look for another job until you have a job lined up.
Right.
Or like, don't leave your job until you have another job lined up. It's like, go. Don't take a damn break, even though you're overwhelmed.
Yeah. And your nervous system needs to assimilate and needs to relax. And I've learned to be in the waiting place. I've learned what it's like to be in the waiting place. The waiting place is and to listen quietly, even if that takes a long time.
And even if what you hear does not make you happy at the time.
No, and it generally doesn't. So that's most of the time what happens. So to sit in that meditation and to just sit quietly and listen. And all of a sudden I heard this, you need to take people into the forest and hum.
Yeah.
That was the words.
Yeah.
And I came out of that meditation and went, I beg your pardon.
Yeah.
What is that supposed to mean? And what am I supposed to do with that?
Yeah.
Like,
and this was like before sound healing was more popular than it is now. Like, it was quite a few years ago now.
Yeah, like, and it was like, I was like very confused by that, frankly.
Yeah.
I was super confused by it. I thought, like, in the forest and hum? Like, it
why am
sounded magical, though.
Yeah, it sounds glorious,
And
but
when
at
I
the same
tell-
time, you're just like,
Yeah, and or if I
What?
tell people that, they go like, oh, that sounds cool.
that sounds lovely.
And it is.
Yes.
So, but I was confused by it, you know.
Of
So
course.
I started to just kind of play with some things. A friend of mine we went up to Margaret Falls and we did a humming practice, you know, and found, oh, that was magical. You know,
Yeah.
we did it with a drum circle. We did a few different things. So I started to kind of say it every once in a while out loud, and people would go, that's cool. And I would try something. But you know, so I had the idea of it, but I still couldn't formulate what that was.
Yeah.
It still didn't make any sense to me. It's like I'm following this breadcrumb and all I've got is a little crumb. I just don't understand what I'm doing with this. So I told Rochelle about that and told her about
like, we're in the woods.
She goes, we're in the woods.
We got some women. Pull out your guitar. Let's start humming.
Totally.
Yeah.
So, and so she kind of put it out there for me to do this, and like, and I was uncomfortable. Like at first, I was like, "Oh God!" Like,
I just mentioned it. Like, this is something cool I want to do.
I'm ready to like dive into it. So I kind of said to her, "Tell you what I'll do.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to come to the you know, goddess retreat. I'm going to come to it, be part of it or whatever. And if I feel like the inspiration to do it, or I feel like a guidance as to what I could do, I will jump in and do that." And it came over the weekend. The clarity of what the first piece of it came. Yeah. Sort of that getting people connected to music in a deeper way, which was really always what I was doing anyways. Yeah. And going, okay, so knowing that our emotion, like we can navigate that and we can sit with it, and music and sound can help us process these emotions, the good and the bad and the ugly and all the things. And thinking, I'm going to just do that. And then I'm going to sing a couple songs. And so that's what I did. And then I got everybody doing this circular humming thing. Yeah. And it was wild. Yeah. It was a wild experience. And to see what happened to people, and they just went, whoa.
Yeah. Even like at one point in time, there was, God, how many women were there?
I don't remember.
God, it was, I want to say closer to 20, 30.
Yeah,
something like that. Like it's quite a few women. And at one point, we're literally like on the beach, all like group hugging each other on the beach. And, like, all humming at the same time, like, really close together. And it just, like, vibrated out of us. It was so cool to be, like, a part of that.
I know. It felt like we were going to levitate. Did it not? Like, I was like, I don't know. We just opened this portal. Yeah. And it kept coming to me clearly that it is important for you to make these sounds, like create sound, self-created sound. Yeah. So I'd experienced what a sound bath felt like with bowls.
Having it basically like wash over
for you. And then I facilitated something that created sound from your body instrument.
Internal,
And then watched what was happening. And it just got me more intrigued. Yeah. And again, I had to sit for a long period of time to go, I have no idea what this means. Yeah. I'm going to kind of do this every once in a while. And I did a few little things here and there. And then it was that following fall that I just kind of went, a meditation came and said, you need to get certified as a sound healer. And I did I need to what? Yeah. Like, I beg your pardon? What was that? And then I phoned Janine and I said, okay, so this is what's happening. And she goes, oh, that's cool. And I said, I don't think I'll start till the new year. I think I'll wait for a little bit. And,
but it's like when those messages come to you, they come at an exact time for an exact reason. Because you're like, your mind goes into it and you're like, oh, I'll wait till a better time and blah, 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 blah. And the universe is like, no, I said now.
And it did. It said now, because that day I did a couple of
I was giving you a courtesy tap and you need to jump.
Yeah.
Like I'm shoving you off that cliff.
So I had already done some Google searches to kind of go like what, it kind of came up and I was like, oh, what is that? And what are the courses like? And how do you get certified? And what kind of options are available? And I'm working, so I can't like just take off and do, you know, so I thought, okay, well, online is the best option.
A good thing about COVID that came out of it is the abundance of courses and communities that were all built on there. So it makes it easier now for people to do stuff like that while they're working full time.
Totally.
And it's like, it's amazing.
Yeah, totally. It made all the difference.
Yeah.
And so, so I just kind of, I sat and I was going, like I kept repeating, I'm going to get certified as a sound healer. And I'm like, holy crap. And I thought, okay, well, I'll wait till January and sign up for courses in January because it's going into Christmas time and whatever. So it happened to be coming up to Black Friday.
Of course.
And so because I'd done some Googling and because I'd signed up for a couple information emails, my email was suddenly like bombarded with all these courses that I was thinking were way too expensive for me to get. And some were 50% off and some were 75% off. And I was just like, and that's what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And so before I even got out of bed, I'd already told Janine what was happening. Yeah. And she's like, well, just watch for some sales at Boxing Day. And I was like, no, it's like Black Friday and in it.
Yeah.
So I'm signing up for courses and I'm signing up for all these courses and I'm like, oh God, I got to get ready for work. I got to go. Yeah. So I'm like excited about this and nervous and like, I guess this is what I'm doing. And I'm driving to work that morning and the craziest flipping thing happened. Driving along and all of a sudden this, I'm not sure if it was a crow or a raven, flew out of a tree and flew in front of me, in front of the car, and was flying in front of me.
Yeah.
Probably about 10 to 15 feet in front of me.
Yeah.
But it stayed there for almost 2 kilometers.
Yeah.
And I'm following this bird, just going, whoa.
Yeah.
This is trippy, because that's never happened to me before.
It doesn't happen to a lot of people, though.
Like, it's never happened.
No.
Weirdly, when I was telling a friend about it, there was a video that somebody else had it happen to.
Yeah.
So I'm behind this, and I kind of felt like it was this, I felt like it was this wink from the universe to say, you are on the path.
Yeah, you're on the path, you're being guided, they've got you.
Yeah. So I just dove in and learned every single thing I could possibly learn. And then it's just been a process of experimenting, finding my own voice in it. And because I started with the idea of humming.
Yeah.
It was the inception of the idea. And then still didn't really know how that would fit into it. I kept studying the sound healing. Most sound healing was all, bowls and Tibetan bowls and forks. And, so I've learned all those things and learned what they do and how they help. But I knew that voice had to be part of it. And so, part of what I do is I help people create sound, help them teach them humming practices in different ways that they can focus that energy into their bodies. And also when I do sound healing baths myself, I do part of it where part of it is just the bowls or the chimes or whatever is happening there. But then I also just allow kind of to channel almost the sound, just whatever feels like it needs to come out, whatever notes need to come out.
Yeah.
I just let them be there, and it becomes part of the.
And there's like this great thing that you do in the meditation where like everybody's sitting there, and it's nice because you don't ask everybody to sing, because that can be extremely uncomfortable for a lot of people. Totally. So, like, we do all these different levels of, like, breathing and, like, humming and stuff all at different times. And it's not everybody trying to match each other. It's, like, highs and lows, and you could change it and all of this. And it's great when you get a whole bunch of people doing it, because, like everybody's different tones just meld together, so it just sounds amazing.
It does sound amazing, and
it amplifies
it
everything.
amplifies, and you feel it's like you create this column of energy, right? It's like a dome of energy that comes around you.
Yeah,
you
it's like
feel it.
You internally like vibrate and shake up everybody, and then like have them lay out for the sound bath, and so it's like, yeah, it just adds this whole other layer to it that's just great.
One of and I really feel that when it happens, and when I call it like a symphony of souls, right?
Yeah.
Making sound, right? And I had a he's a reader, like a medium, that actually did a reading for me, shortly after I got this message to let people hum. And he said, there's a lot of darkness in the world, and there's a lot of light that's trying to come through and trying to connect. And when you can create moments and people and groups of people to be able to make those sounds, you can break through that darkness and let that light come through. And I feel it when we do it.
Yeah.
I can feel this almost like angelic support kind of thing.
Of course.
And I feel the connection with everybody. And some of the sounds, some of it sounds really melodic and beautiful, and some of it sounds sort of, mismatched, but all of that has purpose. And when you learn about sound healing, you understand that it does, like those dissonant notes, those things that are scratchy and irritating,
they have a reason. 100%.
They move the energy that's stuck in your body, just like me throwing up in the forest.
Yeah, exactly.
It moves that energy in a way that's beautiful and profound. And now that I've been doing, I was doing it sort of monthly and just little one-off events.
Yeah.
And I've been experimenting with this whole thing about doing a beta test of like a sequence where you're going every single week. I wanted to talk
about that because it's like I've gotten to be in the beta test, I don't know, guinea pigs of the first course. And it's been great. It's so cool because, we're going through each chakra like 1 week at a time and working solely on that. So, like, for me, what comes up each time, I'm like, okay, I had, like, my root chakra. I'm like, okay, this came up for this week and stuff like that. And, like, or my sacral, I was like, my sacral was surprisingly pretty balanced. But at the same time, because it's to do with, like, creativity and all of this, I went in, like, super hyper creative mode because we, like, amplified the energy for that week.
One of the other people did too. They went and painted and did like, totally. Yeah.
And it's crazy to see, like, and when we got to the heart, I found places that I really thought were healed and okay. And apparently I needed to do some but it was like I was able to keep my heart balanced so I didn't explode or be aggressive this time. It gave me where I feel like if we weren't working on the heart, I would have snapped.
Yeah.
100%. I would have snapped at this person. I would have been pissed off. I would have held a grudge. But by the end of it, I was able to stay balanced in me, kind of work with them a little bit, and end it on a note where like it didn't ruin relationships.
Totally.
And it was like, I feel like if we weren't working on the heart at that point in time and we were down at the root, I probably would have attacked.
It's been unbelievably fascinating to watch.
Yeah.
Like you say, and not only you, I mean,
but
experiencing
it. It's like
everybody is experiencing that, where, I had one of the other girls that was in it, we were talking one day about, we were on the solar plexus, talking about personal power, right? And suddenly we both had manifestations in our offices that were like, it was like a backlash against us, almost like it was like that, just not a positive thing. And before I would have like gone into that place of like feeling awful or feeling, and I, not to say I didn't feel awful for a moment, but I also recognized, we're working on our own personal power, our own ability to like own our confidence and to own. And it was like, and I fell into that place of confidence going, you know, I knew that, yeah, you know, sorry you're upset about this, but yeah, this is how I do my work. This is one of the things I do. And it's important to me to hold on to this and maintain this because it's something that, you know, and it all sort of, I held that and I just held that space, and then, it, you know, had a few conversations, and then it just sort of all resolved itself. And so, you know, heart diving into, you know, in deeper healing, going back and looking at, you know, old journals, which was like,
sorry for that one.
it was your fault.
I know. Well, it was healing for you. And
I mean, I haven't even begun to really go through it all. It's going, I can see it's going to be an ongoing practice. Yeah. And honestly, I would highly suggest anybody that's keeping journals for themselves to, because I've thrown out a bunch of them. Yeah. And I did that purposely because I thought I was done that part of my life. But fortunately, one of them had remained. One of that was way back in the beginning. But I would highly recommend that people leave pages in between that are open and empty. So that 10 or 20 or 30 years, because the one I'm reviewing right now is 30 years old, can go back and reflect. Yeah. And look at yourself from the perspective of where you're at now.
Because that was a big part of the practice that I was offering for you to do for some healing, was not just read the journal, was to either read it and then work with that.
Reflect on
it. Write a journal after kind of thing of either to yourself as a reply, to send yourself healing, to send yourself love. Yeah. But even just to reflect on oh, I see sometimes I've had times where I look back and I looked back at a relationship and I was just like, oh, this person treated me horribly. Yeah, yeah. And then I read through our conversations and I was like, oh, I was horrible. And I was like, it wasn't just them. And it was like, I wasn't showing up. I was in a whole other place of pain at that point in time. But it was like, I just had this way of, you tell these stories in your head. Totally. You're the hero in your own head.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Yeah. You are. Yeah. You always think you are.
100%.
But when
now I know I'm the villain. I got an Aries moon. I understand now because of astrology. I am the villain and I embrace it.
But that's it. When we can come into a place of accepting our part in it. Yeah. When we come into that deeper understanding of, I had to go through that. I was doing the best I could during that time. And I was the hero in it, at that point. Yeah. I was, was the victim, and I was the hero,
Everybody's attacking me. They're all against me. And I'm just doing the best I can.
I'm just doing the best I can, which is true statement.
Of course. It's not devaluing it, but it's also saying.
Also true. Yeah. Is that there was something in it that I was doing. Yeah. That.
Because you're reacting out of a survival trauma response in all of it. So it's, yes, you survived through it, but now as a healed person, there are a lot of conversations that not fully healed, but more healed person. Yeah. There are a lot of conversations that I have with people that they're just shifted. Yeah. Where it's like I said with that person, I was like, I would have, past Janine would have yelled and screamed and sworn and all of this. But this time I was like, no, we'll talk about it later. And when we did, because we did bring it back up later, it was from a calm, healed place.
Because you're coming from a place of actually wanting to connect really on a deep level with that person. It's not just, I don't want either. I think we're living in a world that wants to create victims and perpetrators constantly.
It's not about that. We're both anymore. At the same time.
We are.
Everybody
always.
Is. And it's like we live in all aspects of these wars that are happening and everything. Yes. It's so much this person's right and this person's wrong. It's like, no. I want to know both sides of the story. And it was like...
What was the thing that I used to say to you all the time?
Oh, geez, I don't remember.
So when you guys were kids and you would come to me with different stories, and I use this all the time, is when you have two stories that come to you and they are both completely different. Yeah. that somewhere in the middle lies the truth.
Yeah, there's 3 stories to
There's
every
3
story.
stories
Yeah.
always.
Yeah.
And so bringing yourself, and that is even what we're doing with this whole chakra balancing thing, everything. The underbalance thing, the non-functioning, the over-functioning, thing that's like going wild and creating havoc.
Yes.
When you come into that center, come into the center part, that's where you want to be.
Yes, 100%.
Coming to that center point where you can hear, and you started at the beginning, with talking about, my upbringing and, that I was quiet and I was, kind of shy and all those things. But I had different friends in different groups and different, because I made friends because I was actually interested in people and who they were and wanted to know who they were. And I didn't, even though people would tell me, oh, you don't want to be friends with so-and-so because, they're like that, or they tell you that nasty story.
Yeah.
And I always want to find out for myself.
Yep.
And so it's like I do the same with all of the division that's happening in the world. I spend time listening to both sides of the story all the time because I know that somewhere in the middle is where the truth is. Yeah. And somewhere in that middle is the place where we can find center and connection, and we can find that bridge between those two things. And I think when we do the work within ourselves to do that, so diving into my journals again in that aspect is kind of forcing me to look at those things and go, where was I at war with myself? Where was I at war with the world? So I can heal those parts of me that are at war internally.
And where am I repeating some of those patterns even still now?
Yeah. Yeah.
That always sucks.
Especially when it's 30 frickin' years later.
Yep.
And I can see parts where I've definitely made progress.
Oh, of course.
Sure, right?
Yeah.
But you can see parts where...
Because I'm sorry, if you were the exact same person that you were 30 years ago, like, that would be crazy. I want to interview that person. That's the person I want on my podcast. If you have not learned anything in
and you've
30
just been
years...
The same thing that, maybe there are people out there. They're not in my world. I don't know. Because you go through so much. I mean, when you come out of high school and you're just like, it's like, oh my gosh, I'm going to be an adult and I'm going to do this thing. And you have no idea where you're like, you think, but you're kind of
especially back when you got out of high school too. It was like women are getting married, staying at home. You're not having a job. You're all of this. Like, it's so.
Well, I had a job so that I could, until I got married.
Yeah.
It was
of course.
I wasn't interested in a career. I wasn't interested in
all women would get jobs, and once you could get jobs until
secretary, a nurse,
teacher.
like that was kind of my mom's generation, but still that continued in my generation.
By the way, your mom is awesome. Who didn't follow any of those paths and ended up being a massive girl bass all at back when it wasn't a thing.
So was my grandmother though.
Yeah. And it's just, it's amazing to come from such a, like, you always used to say I was a rebel without a cause. I was like a strong woman and all these kind of things. I was super rebellious and super powerhouse. And you and Grandma would look at me sometimes, or even Grandma would be like, well, she has all these piercings and tattoos. Like, oh my gosh, this girl is just too much. But it's like, who did I come from? I came from a lineage of women who were these powerhouse women.
Yep.
And I know for a fact if tattoos were like more popular, if Grandma was growing up now, she would have had a sleeve. Guaranteed. Grandma would have had a full sleeve. Like,
she's going to be like, yeah, no way.
Oh my God. But like, because your opinions of things change when you're growing up, if it was normalized, we're like, now like almost everybody ends up with tattoos and stuff. Yeah. And knowing like with Grandpa and his cars and Grandma and like all of these like stories that are now coming out now that I'm old enough to know some of them. Only some of them. I know they're hiding a lot.
For sure.
But it's like they totally would have been tattooed up. 100%.
It's funny to see
Grandpa had a car club. He was a mechanic. Like to tell me Grandpa wouldn't have got a tattoo.
Yeah, probably.
If he ended up in the military instead of a mechanic, he would have even had a tattoo. Like,
yeah. Yeah, it's funny how you realize that, like when, because like my great grandmother was 17 years old and, came across from Ireland like
Yeah.
with a trunk that you have,
Yeah. With
by
all
her
of her
with all of her
possessions.
possessions in a trunk. And, that's some kick-ass stuff,
Yeah.
man. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
that's
To
and
do it alone.
and yet
Like,
she
it's
was like
just,
this really like sweet little, like she was sweet and lovely and yeah.
but it's so funny to always be like, why are you so rebellious? It's like in my blood.
Hmm.
It's
I feel like
literally,
that too.
yeah.
Yeah, I feel like that
Like,
too.
it's not like I woke up in the morning like, I'm gonna cause havoc. No, that's my dogs. That's not me. Like,
Well, it's rebellious in a good way in lots of things too, I
oh,
think, because I think it's
for sure.
important to question things and it's important to,
I
advocate for yourself and, and what
and
you
ask
believe in and
questions.
ask questions. Well,
Even repeatedly, when people tell you that you don't ask questions here, those are the places that you want to ask the most questions.
yeah, I agree. I agree with you totally because I think it's really important. If someone is saying that I can't ask a question about something,
Or it just is. Oh, I'm going to make you dig deeper. If you don't dig deeper, I'm going to dig deeper and I'm going to end up in a weird real rabbit hole. And I learned some amazing things because of it, but
yeah.
it's asking those questions. It's so important. And I feel
Hmm.
like I'm grateful that the younger generations are being taught to ask those questions,
Oh, I
to
agree.
be innovative and not just go with the flow of everything.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Well, you guys even as kids, I encouraged that, which was not
To your
really,
detriment.
yes. Oh, I remember it well.
Yeah.
I remember it well because I wanted, uh, you know, my parents grew up in a generation where it was like you were seen and not heard as children were seen and not
Yep.
heard. You were, and not in a judgmental way saying that about it was just the way it was then.
Yeah.
And that it was like you listened to your father and your mother and you did all the things. And not to say that that's not a good thing to do, but
It makes it harder as a mom to
yeah.
deal
And
with things when you go the other way.
yeah, because when I started to kind of question that because I realized like all my decisions were made before me.
Yeah.
At a, I'm sure I made some, but it sure didn't feel like it. I didn't really exercise a lot of decision making muscles.
Yep.
It was like I just, do what you're told. You do what you're told from your parents, you do what you're told for your school and, the society and all those things. You do all the things you're told to do. And then suddenly you sort of wake up and go, now I have to make decisions for myself and I have no idea how to do that.
Yeah.
And so I think for me, I realized what an important thing it was for you guys as kids to be able to give you opportunities to do that when you were younger, when you were in the safeness of my home, that I could support you in those things. And you guys made, crazy choices sometimes. And I had to just
I don't
sit
know what
and
you're
go,
talking about. I never.
no, not at all.
Never.
But I wanted you to. I wanted you to be
That was
able
one
to.
nice thing was like when I would stand up for myself
Mhm.
or for other people,
Mhm.
and you would always get a call from the principal.
Mhm.
I always appreciated that you would come in, you would hear what they had to say, you would hear what I had to say,
Mhm.
and then you would decide if I was in trouble.
Yes.
And 95% of the time, I wasn't in trouble because I stood up for somebody who needed
Mhm.
it, or I stood up for myself.
Mhm.
It wasn't like I was, yeah, sure, I got in a lot of fights. Sven was way worse than me for fighting, thankfully. Those times I would get in trouble if it was without a cause.
Yes.
But it was like, yeah,
There were times where I was really proud of you for.
So we'll tell the story. So
Okay.
it was
Yeah.
okay. What I don't even know what grade I would have been in
I
at
don't
that
either.
point in time. It was maybe like grade 4 or
3 or
something.
4 or something like that. Probably grade 4, maybe.
Yeah,
somewhere around there.
Yeah, grade 3 or 4.
Yeah.
Basically, what had happened is a teacher strike happened during spring break. So they started it during spring break so that, like, and I have a lot of teachers in my life now, and so I understand the teacher strikes, but as somebody in grade 3 and 4, you do not. You don't know what's going on. You only know that you are getting a longer spring break and you are excited.
Yeah.
Because it now went from like 2 weeks to like 3 weeks.
And it went longer.
Yeah.
And then they started, all the extracurricular stuff all fell off. So all the extra things that you guys were allowed to do, they weren't doing any of those things. And it started to affect, like, even like...
It affected everything. Yeah. Like, it affected everything for every student in every school.
Like, the grad classes couldn't go. Like, they canceled all of those. They canceled the sleepover thing. They wrote the trips that you guys had.
Yeah, all of these things that you actually look forward to in school. Field trips, everything canceled. So then one day they announced that because they went and basically extended spring break by like 2 weeks, they were going to extend school another 2 weeks into our summer. Mm-hmm. So then it came up a thing like for all of the high schools, the middle schools, the elementary schools, all of the kids were going to do a walkout. And a support of like us being like, no, you can't take our summer because you guys decided to do this. Like, it was, no, this is not happening. So the high school kids definitely did a walkout. Middle school kids did a walkout. And we were told by our principal and our teachers, fair enough, that we are elementary school students. We are not allowed to leave school grounds. Mm-hmm.
Totally legitimate.
I understand that now. I was pissed then. I wanted to leave school. I did not enjoy school. So, and I was just like, well, I want to participate in this, but I can't leave school grounds. Like, how am I going to do this? Mm-hmm. So I decided on the day that they were going to be doing a walkout, I was going to gather as many students as I could and do a sit-in in the gym. Mm-hmm. And I guarantee that most of the kids that were there had no idea why they were there. They were just like, cool, we're skipping class. This is awesome. Yeah. Like, let's just go and hang out with our friends in the gym. Yeah. There was quite a few kids that actually showed up. It was hilarious. And the teachers and principal told us, like, if you stand up in the gym, like, if you stand up and you're not sitting anymore, we're going to take you out of here. We're going to haul you out of here. Mm-hmm. So I told everybody to bring their jackets and snacks. And so we all had snacks in the gym and we had our jackets. So you could sit on your jacket and like butt scoot across the floor to get to your other friends. And so we were just like butt scooting across the floor in the gym everywhere. I didn't know that part. Yeah, it was great. So what ended up happening is we were being peaceful. We had a little bit of music playing. We really were just hanging out. We were being really respectful. Mm-hmm. Like, nothing was wrong. You were basically
just sitting to make a point, which...
Yes. And I wasn't being aggressive. I wasn't being angry. I was doing what they were doing. They were sitting out of teaching to make a point. And I was sitting with my friends in the gym to make a point. So what bothered me was every single teacher that had a gym class during that period, because we did it basically for the rest of the day kind of thing.
It was like noon and on.
Yeah, it was from lunchtime. We basically sat down lunchtime and then stayed. So every teacher that had a class lined their students up, took them and walked them around the gym, and continually told every single student, look, kids, because these kids are doing this today, you don't get gym. You don't get to have fun. You don't get to enjoy yourself. You don't get to, we are so put off by this, and it's their fault.
Look at these people that are doing this.
They're hurting you and ruining things for you. And I just wanted to be like, dude, you did the same thing. They're just too young to know it. I'm taking one class. You're taking weeks of our summer. And I'm just taking one gym class in the week. That's it. That's it. So the principal, of course, figured out it was me because I'm passionate. Let's go with that. When I feel I have a cause, I am passionate. So I ended up being the only person called into the office for this entire thing where I'm like, yeah, fair point. I kind of talked everybody into it. That's what I do.
It was legit.
Yeah. And
of course they called me.
Yes, they called you, they bring you in, and they told you that you needed to, I was in trouble, told you what happened, and that you needed to make me write an apology letter to every single one of the teachers and the classrooms and, like, to apologize to everybody because I did a bad thing. So you stopped them and you listened to my side of the story.
And I heard all about what the teachers did and all about what happened.
Yes. And you basically backed me up and you were like, I'm on her side. And the principal was like, no, you have to make her do this. And
absolutely not.
No. And so I backed up. I'm like, oh, I'll do it. I will write a note to every single one of those classrooms. As soon as every single one of those teachers writes a note to every single kid in this school saying sorry for taking their summer. That's when I'll write my note, after I see theirs.
Yeah.
They never wrote their notes. I never wrote my notes. I didn't get in trouble. I didn't even get an in-school suspension or anything. I went straight back to class, and they're like, well there's nothing we can do.
There was no way I could support after hearing, because you hadn't given me the heads up you were doing it.
Of course
I had
not.
no idea. And
That's no fun.
I don't know what I would have said I'm not sure what I would have said if you had told me. But I just felt really strongly that this was a perfect example of what society is supposed to work like, that we're supposed to be able to, and they missed an opportunity to say, you're like, the teachers did that to stand up for themselves, and they did a particular action to do that.
Yeah.
You've chosen to do the same thing, to say, I'm unhappy with this, which is what we're supposed to be able to do.
You literally just taught me to do this.
Yeah.
You just taught me and then told me it's wrong. So was what you were doing wrong?
And that was the part I couldn't support.
Exactly.
Because it was like, it made no sense to me, because I'm sitting there going, well, hang
just
on a second here.
Just because I'm a kid? I don't have rights?
Right. And I just felt like that. I was like, she didn't do anything really awful or respectful.
Nobody got hurt. I was
pretty upset about the fact that they would publicly shame you guys
and purposely make all of the other kids,
it was manipulative,
hate us.
Yes. And I didn't like that, because it was like, you guys want to be respected as teachers, and want to be respected as making
you guys turned this into a vulgar thing. We were doing it peacefully. You guys turned this into a war.
And it was about control. It was
100%.
It was totally about
control. It was manipulation.
And it was. And I could see through it, and I felt it, and I was just like, I can't support that. And I was like, I can't make my daughter write a letter for something that I don't agree. Like, I'm not gonna, I just couldn't. No. I just couldn't do it.
And that was why I said, like, when they do it, I will. And I'm like, that's fair. That's fair. If I have to write letters to everybody, I'll write them. I want my apology first. Like,
it was legitimate. And I still, to this day, I know probably some teachers would be just horrified. I'm sure there's teachers that will listen at some point and go
guaranteed.
Oh, Lord help me.
Oh.
And it did, of course, look like a really rebellious act. And it did, but I don't know.
Why do we put rebellion under standing up for other people?
This is the thing, right?
It's like, it wasn't a rebellion.
No, it was me saying, this doesn't feel good to me. This doesn't feel right to me.
Yeah.
And we're supposed to live in a society to be able to do that, to be able to stand up and say, these are the things I stand for. And I still believe in that.
Without aggression or anger. Like, I was doing it in a peaceful way. I wasn't, like, we weren't being angry or, like, nobody got hurt. And that wasn't the point of it. It was just to be able to vocalize, like, hey, we think this sucks. We think we're being mistreated too. Like, I understand you guys are being mistreated. I understand that because now it's happening to us.
Mm-hmm.
And kind of we're almost standing with you.
We,
but in a
weirdly,
way, in a way we're standing with you. But at the same time, you made us the villains.
Yeah. Yeah, that was the part that I wasn't happy about, and I was like,
Yeah.
I'm not having that. And I mean, and then kind of the school, well, they knew that there were certain things that they couldn't get me to do with things like that with the kids, with you guys, because I just felt the way I did. I felt that, you know, empowering children, not to be disrespectful and rude and, you know, none of that.
We did it in a super respectful way.
Totally. Like it was like to ask questions, to be able to, you know, discern for themselves. You know, that was an important thing that I thought, that I still feel strongly about, you know. I think it's something that...
Just because you're an adult doesn't make you right.
Well, this is the thing that can happen. And, you know, I believe fully that our children come, you know, it's that whole, you know, our children are brought through us, but they're not ours to put our labels on and our ideas on. Yes, we want to instill our values and instill things like that, but also be open to the possibility that they might choose different life or a different way, and to be able to really explore that and feel supported in that. To actually feel supported in that, not just like, I'm going to tolerate that you're doing this. Because it's hard sometimes, and that is not an easy thing to do as a mother. Because honestly, you do just want them to just do as you're told and go sit over there. But you know, when
you're like, I know the best way you should do this, and then they don't listen. It's like, no.
And it's really, but knowing that I did that for you guys, you know, actually is one of the proudest. Like, I was proud of what I did as a mom, to be able to let you kids choose things, you know, like choose, you know, maybe it'd be like, okay, we're getting your pajamas on, which ones are you wearing, your red ones or your blue ones, you know, or we're, you know, we're having soup tonight, which one do you want, you know? So there was opportunities to exercise choice, to exercise your own decision-making process, which I had felt, and again, not a slight against my mom or dad, but I had felt I didn't have. You know, just like fight, you know, when we were kids, when my mom and dad, when my sister and I fought, we were sent to separate rooms and you go sit in either room. And I realized later that I had a horrible ability to manage conflict and to be able to talk to someone. And so with you guys, I used to put you in the same room and just be like, you know, unless there's fire or blood, like, don't call me, like, you guys resolve it. And
which, it's so funny because we still, like, for years and years, when we would deal with conflict with each other, it was like we would full on blow up at each other. And thankfully, like, I have a great brother in the way that he knew that I was more stubborn than he was. He knew that we were going to resolve it. But 95% of the time, he would come back to me later and be like, okay, I'm sorry. Like, I went to the gym, I went for a run. He, like, got out his, like, masculine adrenaline rush that was exploding out of him. And then he'd come and be like, okay, I was being a dick. And I'm like, okay, I was also being a dick. And then it's like, okay, we love each other still. And then we would literally go and, like, play video games or watch sports and, like, literally right away. And it was like, we needed we needed to blow up. We needed the cool down time. And then we needed to apologize, and then we'd hang out, and we're good.
And sometimes you guys had, over the years, times where you had long
months
of times that you couldn't,
quiet time.
That you couldn't. But you've always been able to come back, and you know, I just that was hard too when you guys were going through that. The mother in me is going like, you need to talk to your brother. You can't not talk to him, but then knowing it was so important.
That's such a crazy...
to stay out of it, because it's like, it's not my relationship. That's your relationship. And it's
such a crazy thing to me that we have it ingrained and taught to us that even if, like, some of the things that Sven has said to me in the past, I found abusive.
It hurt.
It hurt me. it was like, that's why I stepped away.
Right.
And I couldn't talk to him because in my mind, I would never, ever allow that in any other relationship in my life.
Right.
So just because he's family, I have to forgive him?
Right.
No, you don't.
Right.
You can choose to, you can do the work. And the nice thing is that because they're family, you will always have this connection. So it's easier to reconnect than like a friend or an acquaintance or something like that.
That you maybe lost touch with.
That you've lost touch. Yeah. And you're on totally different paths. But allowing somebody to treat you like crap, treat you horribly, but you still, and like they constantly do it, and then you still have to love them according to people. I'm like, that is not acceptable in work, in friendships, in relationships, but it's okay when it's family. And it's like, we have to kind of start separating that a lot more for people, because it's not okay.
And you guys have like, it's great to see that you guys have,
of course we have had some like months where we didn't talk. We had big blow-ups, we had huge disagreements over the year and stuff, but like over the years. But really, we're at a place now where I can call him anytime I want.
Totally.
I could randomly show up at his house tomorrow and be like, hey, I'm here, I'm gonna hang out. Like, and he's good with that.
And vice versa. Yeah, same thing. And really, you guys had to work that out yourselves. Like, that was something that, I, as much as it was hard as a parent to see your kids having that conflict, I also knew it's not something I can resolve.
And it always made us closer.
Yeah.
Like, it always made us closer.
Yeah. Which is great.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a beautiful thing. I mean, parenting is not an easy task.
I don't know what you're talking about. Everybody, like, all of the books and all of the, like, advisors, they all say it's, like, the easiest thing you'll ever do. Give birth and raise a child.
Thing you will ever do in your whole life. And hard as, I saw someone post, one of the members of our community posted not that long ago something about, she's in the middle of raising kids, and, she was like, what is the hardest thing? And honestly, I would say it's actually harder even as an adult.
Yeah.
Like, to have adult children going through hard things.
Yeah.
And see them go through it and having to be there.
But also having to be separate. Because you can't be there comforting everything. And we're not going to come to you and be like, Mom, I need a hug. But I will, though. I will.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like,
I think that is harder than anything you do, because as you see, and I haven't made that easy on you either. Nope. and it's interesting to see that, because one of the things in the journal that I was reading was, how my mom was talking about how hard my divorce was on her, and at that moment in that, I was so frustrated, because
I was like, what the hell? I'm the one getting divorced, not you.
Yeah.
Why is it hard on you?
Yeah. And but now I get it, because now it's like, now I can see how when you have an adult child that's in pain or is, acting maybe as if they're not in pain, right?
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
But they are, and that this is a pretty dramatic thing that's happening to them in their lives. That's tough. Yeah. It's tough, because you're not, like, when they're little, you can put them on your lap, and you can, like, cuddle them, and you can make them macaroni with hot dogs in it, and like terrible comfort food that we should never have eaten in a million years, but we did.
Wait, no, we do. Change this from a we did to a we do. I still will have, even though I'm all like, oh yeah, I'll have like the more natural pastas and all this kind of stuff. Every once in a while, I get a really big hankering for some like old Katie that is like neon orange and some really bad, who knows what's in it, hot dogs.
Hot dogs, yep.
Yeah, I know they say all beef, but I don't trust it.
Yeah.
All beef what?
All beef what? So, yeah. So I do think that is probably that's when it's hard, because you can't go in and fix it for them. Mm-hmm. And, I think for me is how I manage myself as saying how I'm being a better parent is when I close my mouth and don't say anything and just be there and listen, and try and support. And I don't always succeed at that. And sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. But
and it helps, I think, that we're both on a healing journey, because then sometimes when you do say something that has triggered me, it's like I'm not going to blow up at you about it. And some things, yes, I feel some things probably I should talk to you about, but then other things I'm just like, ugh, it's just, you didn't mean it.
Yeah.
And it's like, or you meant it this way or something. And it's like, just kind of looking at my stuff sometimes of like, okay, why is that bothering me so much?
And that's really the truth of, I think that's the beauty of, again, of meditation, of self-reflection, of the healing work that you do for yourself, is that ability to understand that everything's mirroring something within you. And if it's triggering you,
I have more work to do. And that pisses me off.
Me too. I still have it too, where I'm just like, oh,
I thought I was okay with this now,
and now I'm not. And
or then it's just sometimes even it's something that you've cleared and done the work, but then you realize it's like, oh, I haven't been doing as much self-care, so I'm a little bit more triggery right now.
Right.
And it's just seeing those points.
And sometimes it can literally be because you haven't been sleeping very well or haven't been like,
I sleep like a baby every night. It's brutal.
But it's, I used to, because it's been a lot of years that I've been doing this work, a lot of years. And I used to, in the beginning, when I'd, go through something and I'd think, okay, I'm going to look at it and I'm going to, I'm going to get there and I'm going to get healed and I'm going to work on all the things. And then I'd find the trigger or I'd repeat the pattern and I would just be like, beat yourself up almost, because it's like, oh my God, I thought I'd already done this. Why am I here again? But what I realized was it's another layer. And when I started to really understand that everything is like a spiral, it's like you go through this thing and it's like the spiral is happening. The energy spiral of what's going on with you is happening, and it just gets bigger and bigger. So it's going to come back into your life. It's going to come back at you. It's less energy as it gets out. As you go from the inside, you're hitting it again and again and again and again. But as you go further, it's like you're going to hit it again. And it could be like 5 years down the road, you're going to hit that again. But when you hit it, you're stronger. You're at a different place. And it's not in the same place it was. So it's just, it kind of is the way it is. And when you understand that, then you don't get that beating yourself up thing.
That was something they even taught us when I went to the facility for PTSD. They showed us this line graph, basically. And it was like, it looked like a really bad stock market kind of thing. Because it was like, do. And then it would like drop down. And then it jumped back up. And then would kind of level and then drop back down. But what they explained is like, this is your emotional state. You will continue to always have these drops.
They will.
Always. But you will never drop as low on the same subject. You'll never drop as low as you did before. So know that when you see that drop happening.
If you're doing work.
Even then, it was like, even the times where I wasn't doing the work on it, when I had the PTSD, because I didn't have tools. No. When I had the PTSD before I learned all of this, I didn't have the tools. But it gave me hope. So when I would have a bad day and drop down, I remembered, I'm like, I'm just in the part of the graph where it drops, and I know that I will get better. And it will come out of this. I'm not down here forever. And it was like,
I mean, if people could understand that with depression and things like that, the suicide rates would be less than what they are.
For sure.
You look at that and to know that, whatever it is that, feels so devastatingly terrible, that the truth is you're going to come to the other side of that. And
now we have places for free help. Like, thank God.
And I will say, and you probably feel like this too, we can do the mental work, but doing the energetic work, so doing the work like you do and doing the work like I do, helps support that so much more.
I like to think of it as like, I basically take the edge off of it. So that you can get through
Yeah.
and actually do some of the work.
Yeah.
Because it takes that edge off of like, oh, but I don't have enough energy to meditate today.
Mm-hmm.
It will just give you that little bit of something so that just for right now, you can take that 5 minutes to meditate.
Mm-hmm.
And it just helps bring you out of that so that you can start climbing again.
Yeah,
and
totally.
so you're not trapped in this. And it's like,
because we spiral, and we get in
God.
these,
spiral. I just lump. Who are we kidding? I don't spiral anywhere. I lump, and I am on the couch, and I am like a part of the cushions.
Yeah. Well, and it can happen, and some people are fortunate they don't have those things. I don't know how
They have them in other ways,
Yeah.
though. It shows up for everybody differently.
indifferently. Yeah, for sure.
And
For
it's
sure
like
it does.
some people, they don't crash until they crash and burn hard.
Or have they have unbelievable difficulty in sitting still. Like sitting, like
yeah.
they can't, like they're constantly having to do something or be something or do like.
Oh, my poor sweet husband has ADHD. And the amount of drumming and whistling. And I jokingly told him years ago, I was like, honey, you are an amazing whistler. Like, you are so good at it, because he's been doing it for years. You're so talented. But nobody on earth has ever said, more whistling, please. Like, I love him, but I was like, I can't. It's been like 2 hours of whistling. I'm gonna go insane.
Yeah.
And like, he'll be like drumming on things while we're watching a movie or something. And I'm like, okay, so did you go for a run today? No. Okay, well, go on the treadmill. I'll pause the movie, go run for 20 minutes, and then come back, and he feels so much better.
Yeah. Because it's a dysregulated nervous system, right? That is trying to compensate.
Yeah, and it's just like, I can tell when I'm like, you didn't run today. You like, did you sleep in or something? Because I'm gonna hit you soon. Like, something's going on. Like, the whole side of your couch is just shaking, and I thought one of the dogs was scratching, but no, it's just you vibrating. That's and I'm funny. Like, oh my God.
Yep.
But yeah, so yeah, I've almost asked all of the questions so far. Perfect. So what do you see coming up for you this year?
I see, really diving into this sort of creating more of a weekly practice, for people.
Yeah.
I've looked at, what we created with this whole beta test, idea of what we did there with the chakra stuff. And I'm really loving what has been created out of that.
Yes.
I see being able to split some of that off into sort of 2 different segments. One where it's just sort of an introductory thing, and the other is like the deep dive. And really wanting to get more people, sitting through that process and learning what it's like to take that self-created sound, bringing self-created sound into their experiences, bringing meditation, into their experiences. So yeah, I'm going to play with, doing more of the stuff. I'm probably going to play with the podcast myself at some point in time. Really.
And when that starts on, we'll have you on again to promote that.
So, really, and I kind of, where I see that is really about, the power of song, sound, and simplicity, really. Yeah. And I can see there's lots of different ways I can take that. So doing that kind of a thing. So really just diving more into this practice and more of the consistency of it, and helping people walk through it, and just
like facilitating more.
And you and I have done some corporate events, and I'd really like to see us, dive in and do some more of that.
Yeah.
Because I think that's really, really needed.
So needed right now.
Yeah. I think
where it's one thing to do it on weekends when all of this, and you're like secretly spiritual or secretly going to sound bowl meditations and nobody in the office knows. It's another to like drop into that level with the people that you work with, and be guided through a meditation, like
in a safe way that's not, that doesn't make people feel like all woo woo about it. And
no, I'm gonna make everyone feel awkwardly woo woo. It's perfect. Then you're level. But no, we don't go too far into a lot of the stuff and make people feel uncomfortable.
Really, it's just about understanding that you everywhere you are, whether you're in your home or you're in your relationship or you're in your work environment, you're exuding energy.
Yes.
And that energy is impacting the people around you.
Yes.
It's like vibrating out, and it's
and
reciprocally.
You're absorbing
and
everybody
you're absorbing
else's.
So it's this
yeah.
thing. So it's this biofeedback loop that's happening constantly with you, and it's making decisions about what you want to feed into the biofeedback so that it loops back in a good way.
Well, and if you don't trust that that's a thing when you go into the office, go to a sports game. Go to a hockey game. And like everybody's just jiving by the end of it. Like you're just so much energy, and you can't help but all of a sudden be a sports fan even though you hate hockey. It's like, yeah, you're like, this is great. And I'm like, I don't like hockey, but this is amazing. Like, it's just this energy that feeds into it, and that's in a positive way, thankfully. Think about
And it can also happen in a negative way.
Yes.
And, you know, and you can get yourself caught in weird loops.
Of course.
So being able to have tools.
Yes.
And I think, honestly, the next sort of wave that people are going to be going into is understanding on a deeper level that energy, we do have the ability to regulate that energy and to be able to, you know, work with it. And that energy's there anyways. It's a pulsing live thing around us. And so each time I do these classes, and we go into each level and each layer and feel into it. And as you practice it, you feel it.
Yeah.
You feel it, definitely. You feel that, you know, the physical body, you feel the mental body, you feel the emotional body, you feel the spiritual body.
Yeah, I was like, oh, I'm super balanced here. And then all of a sudden we got to the mental body, and it was like a whirlwind tornado around me. And I'm like, oh.
Wait a minute.
I'm a little out of balance on this one. Yeah. I am over the top on that one. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So being able to do those kinds of things, and I think bringing this kind of work is really what's going to be needed. We are living in a time that is sort of unprecedented, really, because we've kind of been thrown into this chaos where, you know, I think a lot of us still hold a lot of the trauma from, you know, the fear that happened.
We hold trauma from everything. Yeah. And I think it's only been recently that, like, people have realized that, oh shit, I have trauma and I've been in survival mode for years and like didn't realize it. I thought I was just being me, but it was like, no, I was reacting to trauma.
Totally.
So then who am I? Who am I when I choose on a daily basis what I want to do because I enjoy it instead of how am I going to survive today?
Totally. So there's that, and there's also global traumas that are happening right now.
Oh,
you know, between COVID, between the wars that are happening, those things are, you know, so big. You know, the division that's happening politically. You know, there's so much of that in the world right now.
Yeah.
And again, it's that, like we said, coming back to that center point, coming back to our own center, coming back to who do I want to be in the world, and who, you know, how do I want to impact it? How do I want to present myself, you know, in this world? And for me, it's about being compassionate and about understanding that there is for me, there's no way that you're going to sit and have a conversation, even with your best friend, and start talking about, pick 20 subjects.
Yeah.
And start talking about it. I can guarantee you're going to find one that you're going to disagree with. Probably more than one.
Of course.
So dismissing people because they don't agree with you on every particular topic. I think if I started to do that and really did that every time you found a disagreement, we would be pretty lonely people. Because ultimately,
100%.
You would never have anybody in your life that, right?
No.
Because you're always going to find that disagreement. So where is that place? Where's the bridges? Where's the center? Where's the point where we can connect?
Yeah.
Let's find that, and let's do more of that. That's, to me, and to me, what we do, healing-wise, and what I do with meditation and what I do with the sound healing and stuff, brings people into that space so they can be open to that possibility.
Yeah. So just healing one person at a time.
Yeah, kind of that.
That's what this next year is. Perfect. So I'm super excited because at the end of the episode, we're going to have you guide just a quick little sound bath meditation and stuff that we'll play. But right before we get into that, I have a couple rapid fire questions.
Okay.
Yes. So this is going to be for everyone the same questions to make it nice and easy because
alrighty.
I love it. Okay. So would you rather watch a movie or read a book?
Probably a movie.
What is your favorite season of the year?
I would say summer because I get to be free.
Yes. Do you prefer sweet or savory?
Sweet.
And what's your favorite plant?
Oh, Lord. Favorite plant? That's really hard for me.
I know. That's why it's in there.
I would say the one that I feel the most drawn to that keeps popping into my head, so it's obviously is a philodendron.
Yeah. That's great. They're super resilient. So they literally are a plant that represents like resilience. Which is awesome. So
that's kind of me.
Yeah. What is your favorite form of body movement?
Yoga, if I do it. I want to get more practiced again at it.
Yes.
But yes, I would say yoga because I love the deliberacy of it. I love, like, I'm not a fan of, like, the fast yoga or the hot yoga or those kinds of things. I'm the fan of the real, like...
The yin yoga that's super in
really
and slow
centered and slit, you know.
Yeah. What is your preferred way to manage stress and overwhelm?
Meditation.
Yeah. If 100%. You said anything else, I'd be very confused.
You'd be like...
But, like, everything we just talked about.
Yeah.
What is your favorite type of music?
I like mellow music mostly. I like stuff that has a lyric. It's really hard for me because there's so many I like, but I like this sort of singer-songwriter sort of vibe, you know, that coffee house sort of...
A little folky,
you know, and that tells a story of something or really... Yeah, that tells a story or addresses difficult thought or sometimes things that are really challenging, you know, but brings it into a way that's so beautiful. And yeah, that's probably my favorite.
Yeah. What is the best mythical creature?
Mythical creature.
See, I'm very loose with the term mythical.
Okay.
Yeah. What some people would deem mythical, not everybody does, especially in my friend groups. So that's this
is why
I'm loose.
Yeah, this is why. One. A favorite mythical creature. I would say maybe it's between like a fairy or a gnome.
I'm surprised you didn't say unicorn.
Oh, that's it.
Yeah.
Yes. You do have it right. Yes,
That's why I was like, I'm surprised. I'm like, I know you're not going to choose it, but it's like...
right on, you know, it's definitely unicorn. Unicorn actually feels like my spirit animal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like...
Yeah, I would say, yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
I'm glad you brought that up because I would have gone afterwards and gone, like, why didn't I say unicorn?
Yeah. What is one of your greatest accomplishments so far?
I would say the stuff that I did, it has to be like in general, the community-based music projects that I, you know, either created or co-created in the community are by far my favorite things about me and about, you know, I love what I created.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty magical and pretty beautiful and brought a lot of people together.
Yeah.
You know, brought a lot of people. Yeah, I've been having a little bit of discussions about possibly reigniting one of those projects in particular, so
that would be great. Yeah. Well, that was it. Thank you for being my first interview.
We had a probably long time that we chatted there.
Yes. So one thing you'll know is like basically with this lovely thing. So I'll be posting on YouTube as well as podcasts. the very long, unedited version of it will be on YouTube for anyone that wants to hear all of the ramblings and the craziness and all of that. The edited version, where there's less, especially if it's a personal, just me episode, a lot less ums and uhs. I edited a lot of those out of the first episode.
Yep. You do.
But yeah, it's just kind of that, and more edited version will go to the podcast, and then YouTube gets all of the randomness that we dive into everywhere. So yeah, I'm excited that that you're able to do this.
I have to say that I'm absolutely blown away by, I've talked for a while about doing a podcast and just sort of keep putting it on the back burner and going, oh, I got to do that. I got to get going on it. And then I have something else that happens. And then when you were saying you were going to do it, I was so excited. And just like that, you just dove in and have taught yourself all the things and done it so quickly. And I'm so proud of you and for going into this, because I know that you at first were like, I don't know if I can talk on camera.
100%.
And so you've actually just walked through a big fear and found out that you're actually good at what you're doing.
Well, I don't know. The ratings haven't come in yet. So far, I'm fine. Whether anybody enjoys this or not, that's up to them.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll still enjoy doing it.
Yeah. And, to discover that you have a way, and I think you're going to continue to be, a great interviewer and,
Are you saying that I like to talk a lot?
Well, yeah, but I do too. So
I know.
And which is why it's like it makes perfect sense that we would do podcasts because we talk all the time and can talk for hours.
And it's like that curiosity, like you said, about like I really honestly truly want to know people's story. Like it's not just even people in this community or not. I want to know everything about everybody. Like that's why I kind of hate Facebook sometimes, because I get like only a quarter of the information and I'm like, but I want to know it all. Like, just, yeah.
And I think if we can dive into who people are a little bit more.
You find amazing things that you never knew. Like, I know for a fact I have friends that are recent friends that it's like, we've only skimmed the surface of who each other are and stuff. And it's like, and we're so different in so many ways. And it's like amazing to see. Like it's amazing.
And diving deeper is just such a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love it.
Yeah. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah. And so now you'll just guide us through a little sound thing.
Welcome to this sound healing meditation. Just humming into harmony and bring ourselves into center. We're going to be working a little bit with the chakras today and allowing ourselves to move through a clearing of the chakra. So please enjoy and just be as present as you possibly can. Allow ourselves to ground. Take a deep breath into the heart center. Drop fully down through the root into the ground. Allowing yourself to be centered and held by Mother Earth. Breathing up into the heart and back down into the earth. Creating a reciprocal relationship with the earth. Giving appreciation and reverence to all that it does, and allowing it to hold you and rise up through your body into your heart. Next time it rises up, rise into the heart. And allow your exhale to push it out through the crown. Up into the heavens. Allowing yourself to connect to source energy. Relaxing.
Breathing down back into the heart and back up again, creating this reciprocal relationship. Deep gratitude for the support and love, and receiving universal compassion, caring, being held. Allow yourself to drop back into the heart and feel the breath moving out 360 degrees outside of your body, filling both spaces, connecting both source energy and earth energy. Breathing into the center of our bodies and filling the space with a rainbow prism, filling the space with all the colors. We are not just one thing, we are everything. Allow yourself to relax and feel it sparkle. And feel the energy coming into your body and going out of your body. We're going to drop down into the earth and connect to the Earth Star chakra, about 18 inches below your root. And just feel its essence. Feel it grounding you and holding you, providing the pillar of strength that you need. Allow the energy to rise up into the root. And we're going to use a vowel sound. The sound is H-U-H, it's ha, with an M at the end. We're going to breathe in and hum on the way out, and we're going to do it 3 times. Breath in. Relax your breath. Feel the energy of the root. The root chakra, the basis of all things, holding us in safety and security. Allow yourself to rise, the energy to rise up into the sacral chakra, about 3 inches below the belly button. The sound of this chakra is ooh. Deep breath in. Relax into this chakra. Feel its energy growing, heating up, rising up into the solar plexus. Sound of the solar plexus is O. Deep breath in. Feel that beautiful glow, the energy rising up into the heart. The sound is Ah. Deep breath in. Relax into the heart and feel that expansion, compassion, love, filling the space around you. Allow it to rise up into the throat. The sound is I. Deep breath in. Relax, feel that throat. Being able to speak clearly, with care. Allow the energy to rise up into the third eye. The sound is A. Deep breath in. Relax, feel the energy on that forehead. Feel it creating that clear vision and direction. Allow it to rise up into the crown. The sound is E. Relax and feel that energy in the top of the head and the crown, and allow it to rise up about a foot above your head into the soul star chakra. And we're going to sit there in a moment of silence. We're going to ground back down, moving through each chakra, one sound for each chakra. Crown, the sound is E. Third eye is A. Throat is I. Heart is Ah. Solar plexus is O. Sacral is U. And the root is Ha. Dropping down and grounding down into the root.
And that concludes this episode of the Wild Nova podcast. I am so grateful to Sandy Mcafee for joining me today on this journey and sharing her passions. If you would like to hear more from her, you can find her on Instagram at Sandy Mcafee Muse, on Facebook at Sandy Mcafee, and website sandymcafee.com. All of today's links will be in the show notes. If you found any resonance in today's discussion, don't forget to share, subscribe, and leave a review. Your engagement really means a lot to me. Connect with me on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram at the Wild Nova Podcast. If you have any questions or comments, you can email me at info@wildnova.ca. And as always, visit my website for any additional resources at wildnova.ca. I'm your host, Janine O'Brien. Remember, the connection between your body, mind, and spirit is a journey worth embracing. So until next time, keep exploring and stay curious.